Hello, 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 everyone. All right, welcome to the Wealthy Trustee webinar. How is everyone? I'm super excited that you guys are here. So tonight I have a lot planned for you. It's going to be short, sweet webinar, 1 hour, where we're going to be going through how to set up a trust, you guys, okay? So you guys have probably heard the term trust, have heard the term trust fund, and are like a little bit familiar with it. And so if you're here on this webinar, then that means that you want to learn a little bit more. You want to know how to put the pieces together on this puzzle that we call a trust estate. Okay, so that's what I'm here to teach you. A little bit about myself. My name is Christina Yvette. I am a trust strategist. I have been dealing with trust since 2015. The way that I got involved in trust was by way of real estate. So I was actually a registered nurse and I was living paycheck to paycheck. And I was extremely frustrated because I realized that I was spending more time in the hospital with my patients and coworkers than I was at home with my 1-year-old baby. So I told myself I need to find another stream of income, primarily something that's passive so that I don't have to work so hard. Because if you know anything about nursing, you know that we work 12-hour shifts and it's absolutely exhausting. So me working 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, I was driving to work one day and I heard this man on the radio say, "Do you want to learn how to flip houses?" So I was like, absolutely. So I signed up for a 3-day seminar. In that 3-day seminar, I learned so much about real estate investing that I signed up for mentorship and I was able to acquire my first property 6 months after that seminar. And I was so grateful because when I acquired this property, right, my mentor, he actually became my hard money lender. So if you know anything about real estate, you know that you can purchase property through hard money lenders, actually giving you the money for the house. So that's what happened. And he told me that I needed to put that property into a trust. And so at that time, I was young, I was 25, I didn't know what an actual trust was. I never heard of the term trust. And so I was like, what is it? And how is this going to help me? So he told me that, a trust is, he told me what a trust was and that I needed to use it, one, because I was young. This was my first property. So I needed to protect that asset because it was actually going under renovation and anything could happen, meaning that the contractor could slip and fall, the electrician could get electrocuted, anything could happen. And so you don't want to put yourself in a situation to where you're getting sued. And so I knew that I did not want someone to take that property from me. So I put that house into a trust and I have been operating as a trustee ever since. So tonight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the steps that you can take in order to create a trust estate so that you too can operate as a trustee, okay? So with that being said, I have a short presentation for you guys. So we're going to dive right into the presentation. After the short presentation, then what we'll do is we'll open up the floor for a Q&A if any of you guys have any questions based off of the information that I went over, okay? All righty. So let's get into it. All right. So here in the webinar, you're going to learn the right way to build wealth. So as I said, I am Christina Yvette. A quick disclaimer, this is not legal advice or tax advice, so I'm not a licensed attorney or a certified public accountant, okay? So I am, hold on, what happened here? Did I press escape? Okay, so I am a trustee, and so I'm going to show you guys about trusteeship. Let's see, sharing your screen. Okay, let me know. Can you guys see my screen? Perfect. All right, so tonight's objective is for you guys to learn what a trust is, how to actually operate a trust, some tax strategies, some wealth building strategies, who the contributors of the trust are, and how to protect your assets with a trust, okay? So with that being said, these companies that you see here, Exxon, Microsoft, Amazon, Berkshire Hathaway, Trump, right? These companies, how is it that they pay little to no taxes? We've heard Warren Buffett say that he pays less taxes than his secretary. We heard Trump say that he doesn't pay taxes because he's smart. So the answer to this question is the reason why they're able to pay little to no taxes is because they have trust within their structure. So somewhere along their entire structure, from their LLCs to corporations to offshore accounts to trust, there is a trust involved somewhere in there, okay? So with that being said, you need to also incorporate trust within your structure. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So what is a trust, you guys? So a trust is a living, breathing entity, just like how you are a living, breathing entity. So a trust can do anything and everything that you can do. So if you're able to buy a house, a trust could buy a house. If you're able to build credit, a trust can build credit. If you're able to write a book, a trust could also be an author and write a book. So because this is a living, breathing entity, two things that you have to do. One, you have to determine how long you want this entity to exist for. So typically we'll determine a time frame anywhere between 1 to 100 years. And when you determine that, then that'll let you know what the expiration date is. So because it's an entity, how does this entity exist, right? So it actually comes into fruition by way of a contract. So a trust is a contract, you guys, okay? So there's several different parts to this contract as well as parties involved in this contract. So let's talk about the two most important parts to this contract that I want you to know. The first one is a declaration. So that is the declaration of trust, where you're declaring what it is and you're declaring what it is not. So you're declaring that this agreement is actually setting up a trust, and you're declaring that this agreement is not setting up a corporation, an LLC, a partnership, a joint venture, or any other type of entity, okay? So that's the first part. The second part is the indenture. So in the trust indenture, that is where you're going to put all the rules and regulations, or what we call bylaws or provisions of how you want this trust to operate. So right now, while you're setting up the trust, you need to determine how you want the trust to operate, the do's and the don'ts for the many generations into the future, okay? So who are the parties involved in the trust? The first party is the grantor. That is the creator of the trust. So that is the individual, and sometimes you'll hear the term settlor or trustor. That is the individual who is creating the trust for the benefit of somebody else. That other person is the beneficiary. So usually with this trust, because you're creating it for someone else, the grantor is going to fund the trust. So they're going to usually donate some type of asset or money into the trust. The second party involved is the trustee. The trustee is the controller of the trust. That is who we call the fiduciary, okay? So what they do is they are going to manage the assets that are inside of the trust and operate the trust on a day-to-day basis, okay? So they are doing that for the beneficiaries, because the beneficiaries cannot do it for themselves. So the next party involved is the beneficiary. That is the inheritor of the trust. So they are going to ultimately receive the assets that are inside of the trust once the trust is terminated. So remember, a couple minutes ago, I just told you guys that when you're setting up a trust, you're going to determine how long you want this trust to exist. As soon as that trust expires or you terminate it, then those assets need to go to the beneficiary, okay? But while they're in the trust, they are directly owned by the trust and not the beneficiary, okay? So with that being said, let's continue on. So now there are several different types of trust. What I'm going to do is, and there's hundreds of trusts, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down a couple of different categories for you guys to understand and get familiar, so you can do your own research and your due diligence to find out what is the best types of trust for you, okay? So the first category that I want to tell you guys about is express versus implied. An express trust is a written trust. That means that it's in a contract style and it's in black and white. right? You have a physical contract and it's signed, right? So you have your wet signature on that contract, okay? Now, on the contrary to that, you have implied. An implied trust is a verbal trust or a verbal agreement. That is where you and the grantor sat down, you talked about the do's and the don'ts and how you want it to be operated, and then you as a trustee go ahead and carry out those bylaws without there being a physical contract to prove that that agreement exists, okay? The next category that I want to tell you guys about is simple versus complex. A simple trust is shorter in nature, so it has less articles, provisions, and bylaws, and the trustee is required to give distributions to the beneficiaries. On the contrary to that, you have a complex trust. A complex trust is longer in nature, which means that it has more provisions. So there's more rules and regulations of how you want this trust to operate. And because there's more rules and regulations, what happens is the trustees are not required to give distributions to the beneficiaries. They can hold that money inside of the trust in order to build up what we call the corpus, right? So they can build up the money that's inside of the trust instead of giving it to the beneficiaries. All right, so next we have discretionary versus non-discretionary, okay? So with a discretionary trust, it means that the trustee, which is the operator, right? The trustee is able to make decisions for the trust that they deem those decisions to be absolutely necessary for the estate, okay? So that means that those actions or those decisions that the trustee is making for the trust are not written inside of the contract, right? And then on the contrary to that, you have non-discretionary, which means that the trustee cannot make any decisions for the trust that's not laid out or written inside of the contract. Inside of the contract, you have what we call trustee powers. So if it's not in the contract, the trustee can't do it. All right, so that is non-discretionary, okay? So let's move on to the next category. The next category that I want to tell you guys about is statutory versus non-statutory. So with a statutory trust, it means that every single state has its own state statutes and codes. Those state statutes and codes we call laws, okay? So those are the state laws, okay? So, you know, Florida laws are different from Georgia and New York and New Jersey and all these other states, right? So with that being said, with a statutory trust, those state statutes and codes are actually embedded inside of that trust, okay? Because those state statutes and codes are embedded inside of that trust, that means that that trust can only be utilized in that state, okay? So that means that if you set up a trust in Texas, right? Then what you want to do is, because it's statutory, you can only use it in Texas, okay? So it actually limits you. Another limitation with this type of trust is that that trust, one, the state regulates it, but then also it is registered, right? So it's registered with the county and state, which means that it becomes a part of the public record. So that is quite challenging with that type of trust. Now, on the contrary, you have non-statutory. A non-statutory trust is a trust that is operating in the common law, which means that it is operating in that jurisdiction, okay? So because it's operating in the common law jurisdiction, there are no state statutes or codes embedded inside of the contract, which means that you don't have any limitations when it comes to the particular state where you set up the trust. So with this type of trust that's non-statutory, it means that you can actually utilize it domestically in all 50 states and all U.S. territories, like Guam, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, okay? So that is definitely the type of trust that you want to be operating if you plan on using it nationwide, okay? So let's continue on. The next category that I want to give you guys is revocable versus irrevocable. So with a revocable trust, what that is When we're talking about revocable versus irrevocable, we're only talking about one party, okay? The one party that we are describing here that has revocability or irrevocability is the grantor. The grantor is the creator of the trust, okay? So with a revocable trust, the grantor is able to revoke things. So what are we actually talking about? Well, if they create the trust, they can terminate it. If they put assets into the trust, they can take it out. If they create the trust, they can make changes to the trust. If they can also, if they appoint the trustees and beneficiaries, they can remove them, okay, or replace them. So because it's revocable, usually the grantor and the trustee are the same person. So because the grantor and the trustee are the same person, assets or creditors can actually come after this type of trust. So because creditors can come after this type of trust, your assets are not protected with a revocable trust, okay? So unfortunately, sometimes your revocable trust can end up in a lawsuit. It could also end up in probate, okay? So that's one of the challenges with a revocable trust, okay? And with that type of trust, usually we see that it is registered. On the contrary to that, you have irrevocable. An irrevocable trust is where the grantor and trustee are not the same person. So the grantor has irrevocability, okay? So because they have irrevocability, that means that if they were to create the trust, they cannot terminate it. If they were to create the trust, they cannot make any changes to the trust. They would appoint the beneficiaries and the trustees, and they cannot remove them. And they cannot terminate the trust at any point in time. If they were to put assets into the trust, they cannot take those assets out of the trust, okay? So that is only solely for the grantor, okay? So because this is the case, creditors are more than likely unable to come after this type of trust, okay? So the creditors pertaining to the grantor as well as the trustee. So that means that your assets are fully protected with an irrevocable trust. So if an irrevocable trust was to end up in some type of litigation, let's just say, right? What would happen is, so let's just talk about the revocable. So if the revocable trust was to end up in litigation, then that means that the judge could decide to actually force them to produce the trust in court. So if they were to produce the trust in court, they could pierce through that trust, and that trust will then be part of the public records, okay? So that is what a revocable trust. With an irrevocable trust, if it was to end up in litigation, the judge would decide not to pierce through that trust, which means that that trust can then remain private and it won't become a part of the public records because all court cases are part of the public records, okay? So that means that people could actually know what the net worth is. They can know who the beneficiaries are, what assets you have. So you don't want that to happen, okay? And it could potentially happen with a revocable trust, okay? So let's continue on. So what are the actual steps that you need to take in order to create a trust? So the first step is that you need to determine the type of trust that you want to create, okay? So with the categories that I just mentioned, the trust that I recommend that you guys establish is a trust that is expressed. So you are going to establish an express trust that is discretionary, that is non-statutory, that's complex in nature, and that is irrevocable. That is what we call a bulletproof trust, you guys, okay? So that is the type of trust that is impenetrable, even if it was to end up in court, okay? That's the type of trust that will fully protect your assets for many generations down the line, okay? So like I said, Do your research, do your due diligence to find out the best type of trust for you and your family. Let's move on to number two. Number two is for you to determine the trust name. So now that you've determined the type of trust that you want to create, you have to name the trust. There's two things that I need you to know when it comes to you naming the trust. The first thing is do not name the trust after yourself. I see this mistake happen all the time and it frustrates me because the sole purpose of you actually creating a trust is for privacy. And so you don't want anyone to know that you're associated with the trust, especially if you have creditors coming after you or people wanting to sue you. So if your name is John Smith, do not name the trust the John Smith Trust, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is that you don't even want to have the word trust in the actual name of the entity. You don't want people to know that you're operating a trust entity. Let their minds wander and let them think that it's an LLC or a corporation or any other type of entity, okay? So now that you've determined the name of the trust, you want to appoint the different parties involved in this contract. The first party that you want to appoint is the grantor. Remember, the grantor is the creator of the trust. If you've decided that you wanted to create a bulletproof trust, just know that you cannot be the grantor and the trustee. You have to choose one position. The grantor has no power, no control. The trustee has all the power, all the control. So what you want to do is you want to appoint yourself as the trustee. All right, so that's the best thing. That is the best position for you to be in, okay? Because you're going to have full control over the assets that are inside of the trust, okay? So you're going to appoint someone else to be the grantor. That person can be at least 18 years and older. It could be a friend, a family, a cousin, or anyone, okay? Now, the next thing is the trustee. You're going to appoint yourself as the trustee so you can control the trust. Then you have beneficiaries. Those are going to be your children, or it could also be another trust entity or any other type of entity. Lastly is the successor trustee. That is the individual who's going to take over after you in the event that something happens to you, okay? Meaning that in the event that you expire, you resign, or you become incapacitated, the trust needs to be continued to operate. So that means that you're going to appoint someone, which is your successor, to actually take over in the event that something happens to you, okay? Next is number three, to create the trust agreement. So remember, you are creating a contract here. So because you're creating a contract, you want to make sure that you have all of the correct provisions inside of there, okay? So these are all the rules and regulations of how you want this trust to operate. One of the provisions that we make sure that we put inside of our trust entities is spendthrift provisions. Those are where you get to control the money from the grave. So with the spendthrift provisions, what you want to do is you want to put age restrictions on when the beneficiaries can receive distributions, as well as how they can spend the money that they're receiving, right? So if they were to receive $10,000 in distributions, you get to restrict them and tell them that they can only spend it on education, real estate, and lifestyle, right? And then you also restrict them and say you can't spend it on lavish vacations or, name brand, name brand stuff or drugs, things like that, alcohol, things like that, okay? So you can put those spendthrift provisions, and the reason why we do that is to ensure that the next generation, since we're creating generational wealth, the next generation doesn't blow the dough, okay? So that means that they're not going to spend the money frivolously and then it not last to the third and fourth generation, okay? So spendthrift provisions are very important. Make sure that you have that embedded inside of your trust contract. Let's move on to number four. Number four is when you legalize the trust. So what does that mean? Well, that means that you are going to notarize the trust. So you're going to actually sign the trust agreement, you and the grantor. So the grantor is required to sign, the trustee is required to sign, and both parties are required to sign in front of a notary. That notary is going to witness the signatures and stamp their seal on the legal document. Now that now that the trust is stamped and sealed, it is a legal document, so it actually then becomes legalized and an entity that you can now operate. So the minute that it's notarized, you can operate the trust, okay? So because you can operate the trust, the first thing that you want to do is you want to go and open up that trust fund. Okay, you want to go ahead and open up that bank account. So there's two things that you need to bring to the bank with you. The first thing that you need to bring to the bank is the EIN number. That's your employer identification number that you're going to receive from the IRS for banking purposes so that you can open up in a bank account for the trust. All right, the second thing is your certificate of trust. The certificate of trust is a summary of the actual trust entity to prove the identity of the trust, to prove that the trust actually exists, because your trust document is about 50 pages or so, give or take, right? And so you're not going to be dragging your 50 pages with you to the bank. What you're going to do is you're going to provide them with your certificate of trust, which is 1 page, which is a summary of what's inside of the trust, or the main details associated with it. So just like how you have a driver's license, and on your driver's license, it tells them the color of your hair, your height, your address, your name, all these things, right? It's the same thing with the certificate of trust, okay? So you're going to provide the bank with those two vitally important documents. Now, what types of accounts can you actually get with the trust? So the first thing is that you can get a checking account, a savings account, a money market account, a brokerage account, or a cash management account. All of those are considered trust fund accounts. And you can get it at a bank, you can get it at a credit union, or you can get it at any financial institution like a brokerage that offers trust accounts, okay? So not every single bank offers trust accounts. So once again, you're going to do your research. You're going to do your due diligence to ensure that the bank that you actually want to establish a banking relationship with offers trust accounts, okay? All right, let's move on to number 6. So in number 6, what we're saying here is that you're going to transfer assets into the trust. So the most important step out of all of these steps that you see on the screen right now, the most important thing for you to do is actually transfer your assets inside of the trust, okay? Your assets are not going to be protected if they are not inside the trust. So what do I mean by that? Well, you have this beautiful house that you live in, right? You live there, your kids, they live there, you got a 30-year mortgage, this is your primary residence, right? And so today, that house is actually in your personal name, right? And a lot of us, we don't know that we're a part of the public records, right? So for example, if somebody wanted to know who is the owner of that house, all they have to do is go down to the county's website. They have to put in the address, do a property search, put in the address of that property, and all of the owner's information comes up, meaning the name, the address, the phone number, and any other thing, any other vital information that the county provides on the public records, okay? So you don't want to be what we call low-hanging fruit, okay? So because you don't want to be low-hanging fruit, what you want to do is you want to transfer that property into the name of the trust so that it's protected, just in case somebody decides that they want to sue you, right? Or tries to make claims against your property. So what does that look like? Well, when you purchase that property, you were given a deed, a warranty deed, right? Or a quitclaim deed. So what you're going to do is you're going to deed over that property into the trust, okay? So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to list that property in the trust. So inside of the trust contract, there's the schedule. Inside of that schedule, you're going to list the piece of real estate that you're putting inside there. So now that we've listed it inside of the trust, that it's one of the assets that belongs to the trust, now we have to do the legal component, which is actually going down to the county to submit a new deed. So what you're going to do is you're going to fill out a quitclaim deed, right? You're going to deed it over from your personal name into the name of the trust. You're going to notarize it. Now that deed becomes legal. You're going to go down to the county recorder's office and you're going to submit the new deed. The county is then going to record your new deed. They're going to upload it to the public records. Now it's going to represent and show that the trust is the owner of that home and you're no longer the owner of that home. That is you actually officially putting that house into the trust, which is the most important thing, because now you can avoid foreclosures, probate, lawsuits, things of that nature, because that home is no longer owned by you, it's owned by the trust. So let's break it down a little bit more in the next slide. All right, guys, so what is the actual reason why you actually want to set up a trust, right? What can a trust do for you? Well, the number one reason is for asset protection. So you have assets, you have cash, you have cars, you have houses, you have businesses, you have jewelry, you got handbags, you got furniture, you got guns, you have equipment, you got insurance policies, you got pensions, you have annuities, you have stocks, bonds, crypto, the list goes on. You have all these assets. But the issue is that these assets are in your personal name, which means that anybody and everybody can take these assets from you, meaning the government, your spouse, your neighbor, your child, whoever. No one's exempt. So we live in the United States of America. The United States of America is a sue-friendly country. Literally, everyone wants to sue you. So you don't want to wait until you're getting sued to protect yourself from a lawsuit. Okay? So one is that a trust can protect the assets that you own. Two, a trust can provide you with a sense of privacy. Why? Because you're walking around here every single day using your name and your social security, which is not good because they're just tracking you. They're tracking all of your assets, your money, your whereabouts, right? And so what you want is for you to replace that. So instead of you using your name and social, now you're going to use the trust in the EIN, and it's going to provide a sense of obscurity, which means that people don't know that you're getting into these transactions because you're the authorized signer for a trust that's getting into these transactions, okay? So privacy is super important, and you will understand a little bit more. So what can a trust protect you from? Bankruptcy, divorce, foreclosure, heavy taxation, lawsuits, probate. There's so many things that a trust can protect you from. This is only just scratching the surface, okay? Let's talk about divorce really quick. So a lot of people don't know that a divorce is a transfer of wealth. With a divorce, you have two spouses. So one spouse is suing the other spouse. So with this divorce, right, what is happening is, unfortunately, one spouse will end up with everything, the other spouse will end up with nothing. So in this lawsuit, where you guys are disclosing all of your debt and all of your assets, right? This is a lawsuit between two spouses. And so every single thing that's in your personal name is going to be included in this divorce, okay? So that means your W-2 income, the house, the car, the credit card, everything, the cash, the crypto, everything, okay? Now, how can a trust protect you from a divorce? Well, let's just say that you set up a trust, you put a house into the trust, you put cash money into the trust, you put some crypto into the trust, whatever it is that you want, right? 2-3 years down the line, things change, you get a divorce. That trust cannot be pulled into the divorce. Why? Because the divorce is between you and that other person. And so you are not the trust is not you. If the trust is the one that owns the house, the trust is the one that owns the car, the cash, the crypto. That is not you, you are not it. So the trust cannot be pulled into that divorce. Only things that are in your personal name can be pulled into that divorce. Okay, so that's why it's so vitally important that you protect yourself, right? And that you protect the assets that you're acquiring now. So let's move on to heavy taxation, because a lot of us are giving away half of our money, you guys. So if you live in states like New York or California, you're literally giving away all of it. So with that being said, right, what can a trust protect you from in this instance? Well, in some cases, you have trusts that are tax exempt, right? So within our structure, we have a tax exempt trust. So that means that you're exempt from federal taxes. With this type of trust, you can also be exempt from property taxes, sales taxes, state taxes, county taxes, all kind of taxes. You can also avoid capital gains taxes, a death tax. A lot of people didn't know that the IRS taxes you when you die. They tax you when you die. So you can avoid the death tax, estate tax, inheritance tax. So there's so many taxes that that you can mitigate, and it will actually protect you from that. Okay. So for example, if you are a W-2 employee, right? The IRS will allow you to donate up to 60% of your annual gross income to your trust. So if you donate up to 60% of your annual gross income to your trust, then that means that instead of you being taxed on 100% of your income, now you're only going to be taxed on 40% of your income, which means that you're going to be saving thousands and thousands of dollars. What can you do with those thousands and thousands of dollars? You can actually allocate it to something else, like real estate or another asset, or put it somewhere else into a business, right? Put it somewhere where it's actually going to grow. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Let's move on to lawsuits. So remember what I just said. Do not wait until you're getting sued in order to protect yourself from a lawsuit, okay? I was just speaking with someone, and he called me last year, and he was telling me how he wanted to set up a trust. And I said, okay, yeah, that'll be good for you. You have two businesses, you want to set up a business trust, all these things, right? 6 months later, he calls me and he's like, Christina, I need to set up this trust. I'm being sued. And I was so devastated for him, because I'm like, why did you wait until you're getting sued to actually get the trust? Like, if you would have done it 6 months, 6 months ago when you first called me, then this would not be happening, right? So you do not want to wait, because literally, like I said, everybody wants to sue you. Your neighbor wants to sue you. Your sibling wants to sue you. Your coworker, your employer, your customers, your clients, everybody, right? It's a sue-friendly country here. So just be mindful of that, because a lot of us, we walk around here like we're invincible, like nothing is going to happen, when in actuality, tomorrow is not promised, and people want to take what you have, okay? So with that being said, let's dibble and dabble into lawsuits, okay? Let's just say that you are a business owner and you have an LLC, right? So what does the term LLC stand for? So what does LLC stand for, you guys?
Limited liability.
Absolutely. Okay. So LLC stands for limited liability company. So what does that actually mean, right? Because a lot of us, we have LLCs. A lot of us, we have LLCs and we think that we're good, right? And so what does that mean? Does anybody know what that means when we're talking about limited liability company? So what we're saying here is that if you are operating a business, right? If you are operating a business, then the business is going to take the liability for whatever it is. So let's just say that you have a trucking company and this truck, ends up hitting another car on the road, right? The LLC is going to take liability over that accident, right? Not you as the individual, right? But remember, it's in the actual term. So it's limited liability. It doesn't say full liability. So if the LLC has limited liability, who do you think has the other half of that limited liability? So you guys can come off mute, let me know what you think. Who do you think has the other half of that limited liability?
The owner of the company.
Us.
Yes.
The person.
That's real. Exactly. Okay. So you guys are with me. Okay, perfect. So that is so true. So yes, you are absolutely right. So if the LLC has half of that liability, then the owner, right? Mike said it in the chat. The owner has the other half of that liability. Who's the owner? The authorized member. So when you set up that LLC through the Secretary of State, you listed yourself as the authorized member, which means that you already said that you would take limited liability over that company. So the company has limited liability and so do you. So let's just say that you have a client, a customer, they decide that they want to sue your business. Do you know how easy it is for them to find who the owner is? It's a part of the public records, you guys. So remember, you had set up that LLC through the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State, anything and everything that's listed on there is a part of the public records. So all that client has to do is just go down to the Secretary of State's website. They're going to do a business name search. They're going to put in the name of your business. And then guess what happens? All of your information shows up. So the authorized member shows up, your name, your address, your phone number, everything, email, whatever it is that the Secretary of State allows, right? So now they know exactly who the owner of the business is, okay? Which is challenging. Why? Because now they know who to sue. So now they decided to proceed with a lawsuit, and now they're suing your business, right? So now that they decided to sue your business, guess what? Right? Your business lost the lawsuit, right? Your business lost the lawsuit, but your business, right? Your company unfortunately cannot cover that judgment. So in the event that your company cannot cover that judgment, guess what the judge can decide to do? The judge can decide to pierce through that corporate veil. So that corporate veil is that little bit of protection that you had covering you with the LLC. If they pierce through the corporate veil, they can come after you as the owner. If they decide to come after you as the owner, then what's going to happen is anything and everything that you have in your personal name is up for grabs. So that means that they can garnish your wages. They can garnish your entire bank account. They can seize your assets, meaning that house that you live in, that house that your kids live in, they can seize that house, sell it in order to fulfill the judgment for the business. You don't want that to happen. So what you want to do is you want to protect yourself from lawsuits like that. You do not want to be the owner of your business. You want to have what we call, you want to have the trust be the owner, right? a specific type of trust that we use as a business trust, okay? So you want the trust to be the authorized member of the LLC. Now that trust is going to be that first layer of protection between you and the business. So what you're going to do is you're going to set up a trust. Then you're going to do an amendment from the articles of organization. You're going to remove yourself as the authorized member. You're going to add the business trust as the new authorized member. So now guess what? Remember, it's the LLC, right? So the LLC has half of the liability, and guess who else is going to have the other half of that liability? The trust. The trust is going to take full liability over that LLC. So in the event that that business is sued, guess what happens, right? So if that business is sued and the judge decides to pierce through the corporate veil and go after the owner, the trust, what's going to happen is the judge is going to go after the trust, right? That trust is going to take full liability, but that trust is acting as a holding company. So that trust doesn't have any assets or any cash or anything like that, right? So that is exactly what you want to happen, okay? You do not want to be the owner on paper for your company, your corporation, your business, okay? Keep that in mind. So let's move on to the next one, you guys. So the next thing that a trust can actually protect you from is probate. So, let me ask you a question. The question is, you have this house, right? We're talking about this house that you live in, right? This big, beautiful, fancy house that you be posting on social media. So with this house that you have, this house is in your personal name. If you did not wake up tomorrow, how do you expect that house that's in your personal name to be transferred to your son or to your daughter or to your spouse or whoever it needs to be legally transferred to? So let me know, come off mute. Maria, you got the answer?
I actually had a question for the last thing, but if you could repeat it, I can answer it.
Without a trust, it's probate.
Oh, without a trust, yes, absolutely, is probate.
Exactly, yes. So you guys are correct. You guys are absolutely correct. So it's going through the probate process, which means what? So it means that the only way that that property is actually going to be transferred from your name to your son or daughter is by way of a judge. And that judge doesn't know you. And that judge doesn't know your son. And that judge doesn't know your daughter. But guess what? You decided that you were going to only set up a will, right? And so you left it into the hands of the court system. Highly unfortunate, right? So, Maria, what's your question? Because if not, I'm going to start diving into probate.
So my question was, when you were going over the trust, so I have a holding company and I have a LLC. Do I have to do an amendment for my to get a trust number and then have the trust on the holding company that holds the LLC, or is the holding company and the trust going to be the same number?
So your trust can either be the holding company, but in your situation, since you have a holding company, the trust is going to own the holding company.
Okay.
And it's going to be separate. All right, so let's dive into probate, you guys, because I just want to talk about this for a couple of minutes, okay?
The holding company and the trust going to be the same number.
So your trust can either be the holding company, but in your situation, since you have a holding company. Okay, all right, guys. So let's talk about probate really quickly. because unfortunately, a lot of us, we're not aware of what the probate process is, so I'm going to break it down. The first thing is that I need you to know is that you need to have your affairs in order. It's highly, highly, highly important because a lot of us, we automatically assume that our house or our cars or the cash that we have in our bank account is going to go to our kids. And that's the biggest lie. That's the biggest misconception, that we automatically think that our property is going to go to them. First of all, your kids are going to have to fight your brothers and sisters, and then they're going to have to fight each other. You don't want that to happen because the probate process could be quite lengthy, right? So what you want to do is you want to have your affairs in order, and you want to set up your own trust estate while you're living, because at the end of the day, you're going to have an estate anyways. And a lot of us, we don't know this. So you are either going to set up your trust estate while you're living, or a lot of us, we don't know that when we transition, right, when we expire and we have assets like a house, a car, you know, money, what happens is the state where we live, they go ahead and create an estate for us. So if you live in North Carolina, you're a resident of North Carolina, and you die with only a will, then the state of North Carolina is going to create an estate for you. And what's going to happen is they're going to transfer your house into that estate, your car into that estate, your bank account with the cash money that you have into that estate, all of your assets, right? So at the end of the day, you're going to have an estate anyways. You either create it now while you're living, or you let the state of North Carolina do it for you, right? So now that we understand that, right, you want to do it yourself, right? So let's just say, let me break down what the probate process looks like, right? So you want to do it yourself because you have to understand what is happening at this time. A lot of people think that a will is good enough. A will is a wish list, you guys, okay? So if a will is a wish list, right? A lot of people, they don't know that a will can't own anything. A will is your last will and testament, where you're literally saying, I wish that my daughter will get my house. I wish that my son will get the cash money that's in my bank account, right? So that is literally what it is. It's a wish list. It can't own anything like a trust. A trust can own the house, the car, the bank account, all of these things, right? So a trust is superior to a will. The will end up in probate, okay? So now let's just say that you, right, decided that your will was good enough, and you have all these assets. You have the house, the car, you got $500,000 in the bank, you got all of this debt too. You got credit card debt, student loans, all of this stuff, right? And you didn't wake up tomorrow. The first thing that's going to happen is the state is going to create an estate for you. They're going to transfer all of your assets into the state. Now your estate needs to be represented in probate court, right? So one, your estate is going to probate, right? So it needs to be represented by a probate attorney, and it's going to be represented in probate court. The first thing that the probate judge decides to do is they decide to pay off your liabilities, which means your debt, which means that they are going to first start pulling money out for what? To pay off all of your credit cards, to pay off your student loan debt, to pay off your medical bills. Do you know how much medical bills you're going to rack up at the end? You got ICU, you got the nursing home, you got rehab, you got all of this stuff. The judge decides to pay all that stuff first. You got Medicare, you got Medicaid. It's crazy, right? So the judge decides to pay all that stuff first, okay? Now that all of your bills are paid, right? All of your debt is paid. Then the probate attorney needs to take their fees. Then the probate court is going to take their fees. Whatever is left over is what your children get. Your children literally get the leftovers, which is absolutely devastating. If you allow that to happen, you are doing your family a disservice. Why? Because you need to understand what is happening during this process. Your children just lost the most important person in their life. They just lost you. So instead of you allowing them to grieve properly, now because you decided not to have your affairs in order, you're going to be pulling them into court. And now what they're going to be doing is they're going to be fighting to keep mom and dad's house. They're going to either be fighting each other, or they're going to be fighting the court system. They're going to be fighting the government. They're going to be fighting your siblings, fighting estranged spouses in order to receive their inheritance. Our children are literally losing their inheritance because we don't have our affairs in order, because we either don't know that we can create our estate, right? And so you have to understand that in order to avoid probate, because probate is inevitable, we're all going to go through probate, unless you have a trust. The only way to avoid probate, the only thing that can avoid probate is a trust estate. That is it. So that's why it's very important for you to put yourself in a position to where all of these assets are in the trust. So now let me give you an example of what this whole process will look like if you decided to get your affairs in order and you decided to create your trust estate now while you're living. So let's just say you created a trust. And inside of that trust, you placed your assets in there. So you transferred your house into the name of the trust. You transferred your car into the name of the trust. You set up a bank account for the trust. And now that cash money that you have just sitting inside of your checking account is in the name of the trust. Right? So your assets are in the trust. You didn't wake up tomorrow, right? Guess what's going to happen? Absolutely nothing. Why? Because you named a successor. That successor trustee is the person who's going to take over after you, right? So that trustee is now going to pick up where you left off, and they're going to continue to operate your trust. Your assets are going to continue to remain intact in the name of the trust. So your house is going to remain intact in the name of the trust. Your children are the beneficiaries of your trust. So they're going to go ahead and benefit from that house until the trust is terminated, and then they'll receive the house. That car is going to remain in the name of the trust. That cash money is going to remain in the name of the trust. And your family get to grieve in peace because they don't have to go through probate at all. And the last thing that you need to know is that that debt that you had, that debt dies with you. So the credit card debt, the student loan debt, and the medical bills die with you because those creditors cannot come after your trust estate. That is exactly what you want to happen. That is exactly how you want to transfer your wealth. But a lot of us, we don't think about that. All we're focused on is making money. All we're focused on is clocking in, clocking out. We don't never think about, how am I going to transfer this house? How am I going to leave this money to my kids? So that's what I need you to think about now. So let's keep going, you guys. Okay, I got about 2 or 3 more slides, and then we'll dive into Q&A. So this is the wealth building formula, you guys. Okay, I'm going to briefly go through this. So here you have 3 pillars. The first one is structure. The second one is credit. The third one is invest. So with structure, it's very important for you to be properly structured, okay? That is so important. So if you're not properly structured, you want to get restructured. So the second one, credit, the third one is invest. So with structure, right, you want to have multiple trusts within your structure. You do not want to put all of your eggs in one basket, which means that you don't want to put all of your trusts, all of your assets in one trust. Okay? Remember, you have multiple assets. So just keep that in mind, okay? So now, the trust that I recommend 3 different types of trust. The first one is a business trust. The second one is a family trust, and the third one is a tax-exempt trust, okay? So let's break it down. So the first one being a business trust, I had mentioned it earlier. So you can use this trust in 2 different ways. The first way you can use it as a holding company, which means that you can use it to hold your assets, which are your business entities. Your business entities being corporations and LLCs. All right, so the business trust, if it's a holding company, is going to be non-operational. So that means that it's not going to be offering any products or services, okay? So all it's going to do is it's going to hold your business entities and manage them. So your LLC is going to remain intact. Your LLC is going to have the employees, is going to offer the products or the services out here to society, okay? And just like I mentioned earlier, you want to have your business trust be that first layer of protection between you and the LLC in the event that somebody decides to sue the LLC, right? So that is vitally important. The second way that you can use a business trust is operational as a business. So instead of you setting up an LLC, so these are for my entrepreneurs that don't have businesses as of yet. Instead of you setting up an LLC, remember, an LLC is a statutory entity, which means that you have to go to the Secretary of State in order to set it up, which means that there are state statutes and codes and it's regulated by the state. If you don't renew your LLC, the state is going to shut you down, right? So you're giving a lot of power and control to the state with your LLC. So if you didn't want to have a statutory entity, then what you can do is you can set up a business trust. Your business trust can be operational to where it's offering products, services, it has employees. So any type of business that you wanted to now create, a restaurant, e-commerce, anything, you can actually operate it as a business trust entity versus an LLC or a corporation. So just keep that in mind. So now, let's just say that your business trust owns your LLC. If your business trust owns your LLC is a pass-through entity, which means that it's going to be moving the money from the LLC to the business trust. So let's just say that your LLC generated $100,000, right? What it can do is it can distribute that whole $100,000 to the business trust. And now your tax liability for the LLC is 0. So now all that money that has moved to the business trust, right? So now the business trust has $100,000. One thing that I love about these entities is that you're going to spend the money first and you're taxed on the leftovers. I'm going to say that again. You spend the money first and then you're taxed on the leftovers, which means that your entity has operating expenses. Your entity has administrative expenses. So you get to write those expenses off first before you even begin to pay taxes. So when you have $100,000 coming into your business trust, you want to write off all of your operating expenses. So let's just say that for the business trust, it costs $30,000 to actually operate it. So now you have $70,000 that's left. That $70,000 that's left, you have to pay taxes on it. And with a business trust is taxed anywhere between 10% upwards of 39%, right? So a trust does file a 1041. So you as a natural person, you file a 1040, and the trust is a separate entity from you. So the trust files a 1041. So a business trust is a for-profit entity and it's required to pay taxes, right? So now you're gonna have to pay taxes on the $70,000. But one of the beautiful things about a trust entity is that you can actually distribute that money to the beneficiaries, and then the trust doesn't have to pay taxes on that money. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna distribute the $70,000 to the beneficiary, which means that now we wrote off 30,000, we distributed 70,000 out of the 100, so now we're left at 0. So because we're left at 0, our tax liability is 0%, right? So now what we do is we'll make the family trust the beneficiary of the business trust. Why? Because if you are a business owner or an entrepreneur, right, you're generating the income from the business in order to provide for your family. So we want that money to flow from the business to the family. So the family trust is going to be the beneficiary of the business trust. So now that 70,000 is going to flow from the business trust to the family trust, right? And so now the business trust is done paying taxes, and now the family trust has to pay taxes. The family trust is a for-profit entity. It has to file a 1041. So it just received $70,000 in income. But remember, the trust is going to actually spend the money first and is taxed on the leftovers, which means that what does it cost in order to operate your family, right? Well, you got mortgage, you have utilities, you have private school, you have gas, you have car note, you have all of these things, right? And so you're going to deduct that. And so those are going to be operating expenses, administrative expenses, right? So out of that 70,000, let's just say that it costs 60,000 in order to run the family trust organization. So now you have $10,000 that's left. You're going to have to pay 10% on that $10,000, which means that you got $1,000 that you have to pay the IRS. So that means that you have really reduced your expenses, right? Significantly, which is good for you. One other additional thing that you can do is you can donate that money to your tax exempt organization, right? So what can happen is that money that's left over, right? Like the 10,000 that's left over, you can donate it to the tax exempt trust, right? And so the tax exempt trust is a trust that is a nonprofit, all right? And it is automatically exempt from federal taxes. Why? Because there's a separation between church and state. So if this type of entity is designated as a church, as a ministry, as a faith-based organization, as a charity, or as or for educational purposes, like a school, right? So if you're running this type of organization in that way, where it's charitable, philanthropic, or anything like that, you do not have to file for a 501c3. So it's a mandatory exception to not having to file for a 501c3. So you're automatically designated as what we call a 508c1a, right? So that means you don't have to pay federal taxes, right, for this entity. So whatever is coming in, as long as you're labeling it as a donation or a tithe, you don't have to pay taxes on it. If it's not labeled as a donation or as a tithe, then anything over $5,000, you do have to pay taxes and you do have to file a 1041. right? So it's very important on how you document how funds are coming into that type of organization, okay? So this is the organization where if you are a W-2 employee, you can donate up to 60% of your salary into the tax-exempt organization, right? That is 100% deductible, meaning that you're going to write off the whole entire 60% on the 1040 side. So if you're writing it off, that means you're going to be saving thousands of dollars that you can now allocate somewhere else, specifically other investments, right? So that is exactly what you want to do. So if you are making $100,000 for the year in your W-2 job, right, you can write off $60,000 by donating it to your tax-exempt trust. And now you're going to be taxed on $40,000 versus $100,000. Okay, so that can actually help you save a lot of money in the end, right? So now let's move on to the next pillar, which is credit. So you want to put yourself in a position to where you're using OPM, other people's money. So the first thing is that you can qualify for grants and you can raise funds that way for your organization. The second thing is that you can build credit for your trust, okay? So a lot of people don't know this, but with your trust, you're going to get an EIN number. You can build credit with that EIN number. That EIN number is identical to the EIN numbers that you get for LLCs and corporations. So you can build credit solely off of that EIN. That is the position that you want to put yourself in because it's going to allow you to leverage a second credit profile. Instead of you only utilizing your personal credit, you can also utilize credit for your entity. So if you get to utilize credit for your entity, businesses get higher lines of credit. So, and on the personal side, let's just say that they only approve you for $10,000. On the business side, for a credit card, they can approve you for $100,000. So that is the position that you want to do, right? You want to leverage OPM, other people's money, the bank's money. The banks are getting rich off you. You also want to get rich off the bank. So just keep that in mind. Now, let's move on to the next pillar, which is invest. So these are two assets that I highly recommend. So with these two assets, what you want to do is, I'll talk about the first one, right? So let's talk about the first one, which is an index universal life insurance policy. This policy, right? A lot of people, they're unfamiliar, right? They think that life insurance is supposed to be utilized when they are dead. But in actuality, life insurance is supposed to be utilized when you are living. That's why it's called life insurance, right? You're supposed to be utilizing it during your life because there's so many living benefits. So some of the living benefits are the money that you're going to be accumulating inside of your policy is tax-free. So there's so much liquidity with this type of policy. And your money is protected in there. So the government can't come after the money that you have in your life insurance policy, right? So you definitely want to utilize this type of policy. Now, with this type of policy, it's going to also insure your life, which means that if anything happens to you, there's a death benefit associated with it. So if you didn't wake up tomorrow, then, you know, the life insurance company is going to pay out to your beneficiary, you know, $1 million, which is beautiful. But also, there is another component, which is called cash value, right? So with this type of policy, you're going to be earning cash value, right? You're going to be building up cash value because every single time that you're paying your premium, majority of the funds are going to go to your cash value. And with that, the money that you're accumulating inside of your cash value, with this type of policy, an IUL, an index universal life, you see the word index in there. What is an index? we're referring to an indice. The indice is referring to the stock market. So there are several different types of indices related to the stock market. You have the Dow Jones, you have the NASDAQ, you have the S&P 500. So that is what we're referring to. We're referring to indices in the stock market. So with this type of policy, it's going to be mirroring the index. So let's just say that your policy is mirroring the S&P 500, right? The S&P 500 stands for Standard & Poor's 500, and the 500 is tracking the top 500 companies in this country. So you're talking about Apple, Google, Facebook, Amazon, right? And so usually the stock market does about 8 to 10% annually. So what the insurance carrier is going to do is whatever money that you have inside of your cash value, they are going to match that. So meaning that they're going to match the stock market and give you those returns. So if the S&P 500 is doing 9%, then the insurance company is going to match that 9% and give you 9% returns on your cash value, which means that you're going to be earning compound interest in your policy, which means that your money is going to be making money. That is exactly what you want. You want to put your money in places where it's generating money, where every single dollar is going out to work and bringing back friends. That dollar is going out and bringing back 10 cents. So that is what you want to do. So with this policy, what's going to happen is your trust is going to be the owner of the policy. Your trust is going to be paying the premiums, and your trust is going to actually be the beneficiary of the policy. So if anything happens to you, that money goes straight to your trust fund. And what you want to do is you want to put yourself in a position to where you're paying yourself first. So what does that look like? Because a lot of us, we're so used to paying ourselves last. So I'll break it down to you guys, right? So let's just say that you're a W-2 employee, right? And you just got paid. It's Friday, it's payday. What's the first thing that happens?
You pay your bills.
That's a good question. I mean, that's a good answer. Okay. So you on the right track, right? The first thing that happens is the IRS takes their tax withholdings, right? So that's the first thing that you do. You pay the IRS. The IRS snatches whatever they want, right, from your paycheck. The second thing is you got Medicare and you got Social Security. They take their withholdings. The next thing is you do your 401k contributions. So in actuality, before you even seen your paycheck, 4 organizations got paid: the IRS, Medicare, Social Security, and the 401k contribution. The firm that's taking the contribution. That's 4 organizations that have touched your paycheck, that have put their hands into your money before you even seen your money. So now that we got that out the way, what's the next thing that happens? I'm waiting on you guys.
You pay your bills.
Okay, thank you. So the next thing that happens is your money is directly deposited into the bank. So who do you guys bank with?
Wells Fargo.
Okay, I used
Chase.
Chase. Okay, all right. So your money is directly deposited into Wells Fargo and into Chase. So what do you think is happening there, you guys? So you did not pay yourself. You just paid Wells Fargo. You just paid Chase. Okay? So now those thousands of dollars that just got deposited, guess what's happening? A lot of us, we
They
don't know.
stealing your money.
Okay. So what's
They're using your
happening?
money to make money.
Exactly. See, y'all so woke. I'm just so excited. Oh my God, I'm getting crunk over here. So that's exactly what's happening, you guys. You just paid Chase, you just paid Wells Fargo. So that means that they are pimping out your money. They are leveraging your money. They are lending your money out for credit cards, student loans, car loans, mortgages. And what are they doing? They're lending it out for 10%, 15%, 30%. They're making money off of your money because your money is not in the bank. You think your money is in the bank because you see a couple digits on the screen. But in actuality, they already done lent it out, right? So they're pimping out your money and they're making more money on top of your money. And how much is Chase giving you? How much is Wells Fargo giving you for lending you that money, for lending out your money, your paycheck, your direct deposit?
Not a damn dollar.
Exactly. They're
I speak for the
Pennies.
group.
0.000.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just keep it real. So they're literally giving you nothing, right? For them being able to make money off of your money, right? And so the banks is getting rich. They're getting richer and richer and richer because we're all subscribed to the same stuff. That's what we do. We work 40 hours, right? And then we get paid every 2 weeks. Our paycheck goes straight to the bank. Right? The banks are getting richer. And so a lot of people think that the banks are getting rich off of the loans, right? Off of the credit cards and loans. But in all actuality, the bank's number one asset that you didn't know, their number one asset is life insurance. The banks have life insurance policies. They're called BOLIs. I want you to do your research. Don't just sit on this call with me and listen to everything that I say. I want you to go and Google it after we're done. BOLI, bank-owned life insurance. That is their number one asset. So if the bank's number one asset is life insurance policies, do you think that your number one asset should also be life insurance policies? Okay, so now, right? So now the banks are getting rich off of leveraging your money. So they too are also using OPM. They too are also using other people's money to get rich. So you need to also subscribe to that, and you need to also use OPM, and you need to also get rich that way too.
Farmers, but
So now I got a couple people off of mute, so sorry. So now what's going to happen is, hold on a second, let's see. Okay. All right. So now, right, you just lent the bank your money, right? So let's just say you just got paid $5,000, right? That $5,000 just went direct deposit into Chase and Wells Fargo, the big boys, right? So now what's the next thing that you do? I want to hear it. I want to hear it. I want to hear it. What's the next thing that you do?
Pay your mortgage.
Thank you. I'm telling you, I got nothing but geniuses in here. Oh my God, I'm so excited. So the next thing that you do when that direct deposit hit on Friday is you pay your mortgage, you pay your rent, you buy groceries, you pay your utilities, the lights is on, right? Water, gas in your car, right? Kids' tuition. You do everything. You pay everything, which means that you paying all of these companies, all of these organizations with your paycheck. With your paycheck. You pay the mortgage company, the light company, the water company. And whatever is left over is what you keep. You keep the leftovers. By the time you done paying your bills, you got $500 left, and you're just gonna let it sit in there and collect dust, literally. Sit there and do nothing, literally. That is the rat race. That is the vicious cycle that we are in, where we're living paycheck to paycheck, where we're on this hamster wheel, where we're doing the same thing every 2 weeks. That is what you need to break yourself out of. But the only way that you're going to get out of that vicious cycle is by changing your mindset, by knowing that you have to do things differently in order to see a different result. So if you want to build wealth, you got to switch it up. And the way that you're going to switch it up, first and foremost, is by paying yourself first instead of last. That's the first thing that you're going to do. Now, how do you pay yourself first? Well, when you get paid on Friday, that direct deposit, when it hits Chase, when it hits Wells Fargo, instead of you going and paying your rent, your mortgage, your light, your water, your gas, all this stuff, what you're going to do is you're going to put that money, you're going to funnel it into a place where it's going to earn compound interest, into a place where you're going to pimp it out yourself instead of letting the banks and all these other companies do it. So you're going to actually put it inside of your life insurance policy. That money is going to be funneled inside of your policy, and it's going to then increase your cash value. Remember, we said that whatever money that you're putting inside of your cash value, right, inside of your policy, about 80 to 85% of it is going to cash value. The other is going to the carrier for actually for doing business, right, for maintaining your account. So that money, you're going to funnel it inside of your cash value. Your cash value is going to go up. So let's just say it's 5,000. Your cash values are going to go up by 5,000. And guess what's going to happen? You just parked it in a place where it's going to earn 9–10%, which means that your money is going to get pregnant and it's going to produce babies. And that's exactly what you want. You want it to grow, because right now, it just staying inside of your checking account, it's dying. It's not moving. And remember, it's called currency for a reason. You have to move that money around like a current, like the water, right? For it to flow. Cash flow. Exactly what you need to be doing. So that means that you're going to park it in a place where it's going to be generating more money. So you're going to park it inside of your insurance policy, okay? So now that you've parked it inside of your insurance policy, what's going to happen? It's going to earn the 9–10%, beautiful, but at the end of the day, guess what? You got to keep the lights on. You got to pay your rent or you're going to get evicted. You got to put gas in a car so you can make it to work tomorrow. You got to put food on the table. You need that $5,000. So what you're going to do is you're going to request a loan from the life insurance company. And now that you request a loan from the life insurance company, remember, this is a liquid asset. You have liquidity. So what's going to happen is they are going to look at your cash value, right? And they're going to use it as collateral. So they're going to look at your cash value. They're going to say, okay, John has $5,000 in here. So we can lend him $4,700. So now they are going to lend you $4,700. And that's going to go in as a direct deposit right back into your bank account, right back into Chase, right back into Wells Fargo. But your $5,000 is still sitting inside of your cash value, earning compound interest. So it's still, your 5,000 is sitting there earning the 9 to 10% as if you never touched it, and they just issued you a loan for $4,700. So now you're able to go pay your bills, your light bill, your water bill, gas, right? And that loan that you just got from the life insurance company, it never has to be paid back. Why? Because you have a death benefit associated with your policy. So that means that they're going to deduct that $4,700 from your death benefit. So if your death benefit is $1 million, right? And you didn't wake up tomorrow, they're going to deduct that $4,700 and pay off the rest to the trust fund. So that is what paying yourself first looks like. And this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying that it's going to take a mindset shift, you guys. So me, I have 5 policies. I have 5 IUL policies. Why? Because I have 5 people associated with my trust. So I'll talk about that in just a minute. Let me move on to the next thing. So the next thing is real estate, you guys. So real estate is a tangible asset. So you have the IUL policies, which are your liquid assets. And then you have real estate, which are your tangible assets. So I absolutely love real estate, right? One thing that you need to know is that a trust can own real estate. A trust can qualify for a mortgage. So what you want to do is you want to acquire property, investment properties for your trust so that your trust can be cash flowing. Remember, we're talking about the cash flow. You need to park your money in places where it's going to grow, right? So the trust is going to be earning cash flow from the real estate, and the trust is going to be able to sustain itself. That's what you want. You want to put the trust estate in a position to where it can sustain itself. You do not want to be pouring in your W-2 income into the trust. The trust needs to have its own assets. The trust needs to be generating its own income. And so that's going to require you to go out and get assets for the trust. So the first one is real estate, right? So with real estate, what you're going to do is you're going to buy an investment property. The trust is going to purchase an investment property. The trust has to qualify for a mortgage. The types of mortgages that are out there for trust, one of them is an investment loan called a debt service coverage ratio loan, DSCR loan, where these mortgage companies are going to give you 80% of LTV, loan to value. That means that they're going to give you 80% of the purchase price for this investment property. Okay, so your trust is going to qualify for the mortgage. What does the trust need to provide? Bank statements or tax returns. The trust is going to qualify for the mortgage. The trust is going to qualify for 80%. So now there's 20% down payment that's required. Where are you going to get the 20% down payment from? You're going to get it from your credit cards, right? So remember, the second pillar, credit, OPM, other people's money. You're going to leverage other people's money. You're going to leverage the credit card company's money, the bank's money. So that's why it's so vitally important that while you're doing this, while you're getting structured, simultaneously while this is happening, you need to be building credit for the business trust. So that once you qualify for the $25,000, $30,000, $50,000 in lines of credit or credit cards, you can then have those funds readily available so that you can strip them. You're going to strip those funds. You're going to remove them from the credit card. And now that you've stripped those funds, what is the first thing that you're going to do? The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to funnel that money into your life insurance
Life
policy.
insurance.
Put it in your policy.
Exactly. Who's that? What's your name? Who said that?
Mike.
All
And I
right.
talk shit all day. Don't worry.
Okay, I love it. I love it. Thank you, Mike. See, Mike is listening, you guys. Okay. I hope the rest of you guys are listening, but I know Mike listening for sure. So, with that being said, he was absolutely right. So, you're going to strip that credit card. Let's just say it's 50,000, right? You're going to strip that credit card for 50,000. Now you have that cash money in the bank. You're going to funnel that into your life insurance policy, the Index Universal Life. Now that money is going to grow. So your cash value just went up by 50,000, right? But you need that money for the down payment for the real estate. So what you're going to do is you're going to borrow against it, right? So you're going to request a loan and they're going to tell you what the maximum is. So let's just say that they give you $48,000. So now they're going to let you know, Mike, you can get $48,000 and they're going to direct deposit it back into your bank account, right? And now what you're going to do is you're going to use it for a down payment on real estate. So now you just bought this property with zero down. Why? Because 80% came from the debt service ratio loan and 20% came from you stripping your credit cards. So that means that you use 100% of OPM, other people's money, and you just bought real estate zero down. And that money that you strip from your credit card is working two ways. First, it's working inside of your IUL. And secondly, it's working inside of the real estate, generating cash flow. So now that that money is generating cash flow, what are you going to do with it? Right? So you got this, let's just say it's a fourplex, right? You got this fourplex, right? That is generating cash flow on a monthly basis, right? Well, let's just say it's $4,000 a month, right? What are you going to do with this $4,000 a month? What is the first thing that you're going to do with the $4,000?
Policy.
Index.
I'm
Put it
telling
in your policy.
Pay the credit card back.
you guys are
No.
speaking my language. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do with the cash flow is, right, on the first of the month, the rent is due. $4,000 in the bank account. You're going to funnel it inside of your policy. Your cash value is going to go up by $4,000. Then you're going to get that loan. They're going to give you $3,800, right? Now that $3,800, you're going to use that cash flow in order to pay off the credit card, right? To pay off your minimum for the credit card and to pay off your mortgage. And then whatever is left over is going to sit inside of the trust fund account as OPEX, operating expenses, operating funds, right? And so that's what's going to happen. So now you're going to rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. So now you're in a whole different cycle. So that's all it takes. It takes a mindset shift for you to get out of the vicious cycle of being in the hamster wheel, of being in the rat race, and get into a healthy cycle where you're generating cash flow, where your money is working for you, where it's getting pregnant and making babies, and bringing back friends every single month. That's the cycle that you need to be in. That is what the wealth building formula is. That is what you need to do in order to build wealth efficiently, build wealth effectively. You are not going to build wealth, one, by using your own money. You're not going to do it that way. So don't even think about using your own paycheck, okay? Use OPM. That's the first thing. So just keep that in mind because it is so important for us to break these cycles, break these chains. You guys are the generational curse breakers. And so it's up to you in order to implement this. This is what the legacy is all about. Because we're too focused on making the money. when you can literally build wealth, acquire assets for your estate, for your trust, without using your own money. It's important, all right? So let's keep going to the next one. How to transfer wealth. You guys, we just spoke about how you're going to build the wealth. Now that you have the wealth, how are you going to transfer the wealth? How are you going to preserve the wealth? What you need to do is you need to put yourself in a position to where you own nothing but control everything. I'm going to say that again because they're super important. You need to put yourself in a position to where you own nothing but control everything. That is what stewardship is. Stewardship is where you are intentional about building wealth for the next generation, and you're being a good steward and directing and guiding your wealth into the right places. You're parking it in the right places where it's growing and multiplying. You're not blowing the dough like what we see a lot of other people do. So that is the position that you need to put yourself in, a position of stewardship versus ownership. Right now, you're operating in ownership, where you are so proud to be the owner of the house, to be the owner of the car, to be the owner of the bank account with the cash in it. You're so proud of that. You're out here literally using your name and your social for everything, not knowing that all they want to do is take it away from you, not knowing that all you truly want is to control it. You need to get out of that mindset of ownership. You need to get out of that pride, because truly what you truly want is control. And I'll tell you how. That house that you live in, right? Remember, you got a nice house with a white picket fence, and you got a 30-year mortgage, and that's where your kids sleep at night. That house is in your personal name. That is an issue. Why? Because if you don't wake up tomorrow, guess what? That house is still going to be there. That house is literally still going to be there on Johnson Avenue. So, because that house is going to outlive you, what you truly want is to have control over that house while you're living. And so you can obtain that control with a trust. Because the trust is going to own the house, and you're going to control the house. You're going to control the trust, which means you're going to control the house. That is what you want. That's the position that you need to be in. So right now, you walking on shaky grounds. Right now, you that low-hanging fruit. Right now, it's dangerous because you own everything. So you need to switch it up. And you need to have the trust own everything. That's how you're going to transfer your wealth. So you're so focused on making the money that you never even asked yourself, how am I going to transfer the wealth that I'm creating? How am I going to transfer the house, the car, the money, the crypto, the stocks, the bonds, the this, the that? How? You're going to set up a trust. You're going to put all of those assets into a trust. Now, your children are going to be beneficiaries. So that means that you're going to give them TCUs. TCU stand for Trust Certificate Units. So just like how a corporation has stock certificates, and those stock certificates represent ownership in that corporation, the TCU's trust certificates represents beneficial interest in a trust. So you're going to set up a trust. Your trust is going to then establish or generate 100 TCUs. You, as the trustee, are going to distribute those TCUs to your beneficiaries. Let's just say you have 5 kids. That's a lot. You got 5 kids. And you want to distribute an equal amount of TCUs. That means that each of your children are going to get 20 TCUs. 20 TCUs per child, right? So that means that that one beneficiary is going to have 20% of beneficial interest in the trust, or 20 TCUs. So let's just say that your trust organization has a net worth of $1 million. If your trust organization has a net worth of $1 million, that means that that one beneficiary that has the 20 TCUs, their TCUs are equivalent to $200,000. So when the trust expires, if it expires, now, if you're intentional about building generational wealth, you do not want your trust to expire. You want to continue to renew your trust for generations and generations and generations. So you're going to set it for 100 years, and every 100 years, whoever the trustee is at that time, they have to renew it for an additional 100 years. But let's just say that the trust expires. So when the trust expires, that beneficiary is going to cash in their TCUs and they're going to get their money or their property, whatever it is. That is how the transfer of wealth is going to happen. There's no capital gains taxes. There's no inheritance taxes. There's no death taxes. There's no estate taxes or none of that. That is the way that you want to transfer your wealth to the next generation. So you cannot be walking around here talking about you're building generational wealth, but you don't have the tools to build the generational wealth. Generational wealth is not only about making money. Generational wealth is by creating a legacy, by putting your legacy in writing, by setting up that trust estate, by having the necessary tools, by making sure that you're preserving the wealth. So what does preservation look like? Because we have seen it so many times where you have athletes, right? NFL, NBA, where you have famous families, where you have celebrities, where you have actors, actresses. They make all of this money. They get these big contracts. And the money, they either blow it in their lifetime, or it doesn't even last the second to third generation. Why is it that we see that? We see it all the time. And the reason is because they don't have the tools. The tools are a trust and life insurance. Those are the tools that you need in order to preserve wealth. Now, we're not walking around here talking about how am I going to preserve my wealth. So like I said, if you are intentional about building generational wealth, you need to have the tools. So let's talk about it. What does preservation look like? Your trust is going to Your trust has a lot of assets. Your trust has a house, and guess what? That house has homeowners insurance. Your trust has a car. That house has automobile insurance. Your trust has cash money in the bank. That trust has FDIC insurance. So if your trust is insuring all of its assets, your trust also needs to insure you. Why? Because you are a human asset in the trust. Why? Because you are the most important person in the trust. You are the trustee. You are the individual who is controlling the trust on a day-to-day basis. If anything happens to you, the trust is going to be suffering a loss. The trust needs to be compensated for that loss. So the trust is going to insure you, and the trust is going to insure every single person associated with the trust. Meaning that if you have a co-trustee, the trust is going to insure you and the co-trustee. If you have 4 beneficiaries, the trust is going to insure the 4 beneficiaries. If you have future beneficiaries, the trust is going to insure the future generation, which is the future beneficiaries. Why? Because you guys are human capital. And so the trust is going to take out a policy on you, on the beneficiaries and the future beneficiaries. If anything happens to you, to the beneficiaries or the future beneficiaries, the trust is going to be compensated. The trust is going to be the owner of the policy, be the payer of the premiums of the policy, and be the beneficiary of the death benefit. So if anything happens to you, the trust is going to be compensated. The trust is going to receive that death benefit. So if your death benefit is $10 million, that $10 million is going straight to the trust. That means that the trust is then going to be replenished with $10 million, which is what you want. That is what preservation looks like. So let's just say that you have a future beneficiary, a baby that was just born into the trust. That is what you call a trust fund baby. There is so much negative connotation when it comes to trust fund babies. When actuality, being a trust fund baby is a good thing. Being a trust fund baby is a beautiful thing. We need to normalize trust fund babies in our community. Your kids are trust fund babies. Their kids are trust fund babies. Why? Because if there is a baby that's born into the trust estate, the trust is going to take out a life insurance policy on that baby as soon as that baby is 30 days old. And now the trust, right, is taking out an IUL, an index universal life insurance policy on that baby. The trust is now going to be paying the premiums, $100 a month, right now, right? So the trust is paying the premiums for the life insurance policy. So let's just say that this trust fund baby grows up. Now they're 18 years old. They're going away to college. There's so much that they need. They need books, tuition, room and board, a car. There's so much things that they need. And so this trust fund baby, let's just say that they need their first car to go off to college. What they can do is they can go down to the dealership, they can pull their credit, they can get into a loan with the dealership for $30,000, paying $1,000 a month for the next 5 years. That sounds like a lot of money. Or instead of going the traditional route like everybody else, because they're a trust fund baby, because they're the beneficiary to a trust, they can go to the trust organization. And if they go to the trust organization, what they can do is they can request a loan from the trust. So beneficiaries can give loans to the trust and request loans from the trust. Trustees can give loans to the trust and request loans from the trust. So this beneficiary goes to the trust and asks for a $30,000 loan so that they can buy their first vehicle. So you as the trustee says, yes, you go ahead and issue out a check, hand it over to the beneficiary for $30,000. And they sign a promissory note promising to pay back the $30,000 plus interest. Let's just say it's 2%. So now they're making monthly installments to the trust instead of the dealership. And now their monthly installments are $300 versus $1,000 for the dealership. That's one of the benefits of being a trust fund baby in a trust, right? So that's a beautiful process. So now, let's just say fast forward a year into the future, that trust fund baby decides to default on the loan and decides, hey, I don't want to pay the trust anymore. I want to keep my $300 in my pocket. If that beneficiary defaults on that loan, it's okay. Why? Because it was a risk-free loan. Why? Because the money did not come from the trust fund. The money came from the life insurance policy for that trust fund baby. Remember, that trust fund baby got a life insurance policy taken out when they were 30 days old. The trust has been paying $100 a month into that policy for the last 18 years. There is so much cash value that has been compounding and earning interest for almost 2 decades. So what happened is when that beneficiary came to the trust and requested a loan for $30,000, instead of the trustee taking it from the trust fund, the trustee went and contacted the insurance company and requested a loan off of their policy, off of the cash value. Now that $30,000 was directly deposited into the trust fund from the life insurance company. That money is from their reserves. That's the life insurance company's money. That's not the cash value that's sitting inside of the policy. So that $30,000 was a direct deposit from the life insurance carrier straight into the trust fund. Then it went from the trust fund, the trustee went ahead and signed over a check to the beneficiary, okay? So that money came from their policy, which made it a risk-free loan because it's going to be deducted from the death benefit, which means that when that beneficiary transitions, when they expire, that death benefit is going to go straight to the trust. And then that loan is settled. So that is what preservation looks like. That is what your money lasting generations and generations and generations and generations looks like. And there's no way for you to truly build the generational wealth that you want to build today without you having a trust and without you having life insurance policies for every single person associated with the trust. So with that being said, let's wrap it up, you guys. Hold on. So that's the position that you need to put yourself in. So these are the books that I recommend. I recommend What Would the Rockefellers Do? That is a really good book that teaches you about the connection between a trust and the life insurance policies. That's what the Rockefellers did. That's what you need to do. The second book is The Art of Passing the Buck, Volume 1 and 2. That teaches you about trusteeship, you guys. So that teaches you about how to actually operate a trust. The next one is Family Wealth. Family Wealth is a really good book which teaches you how to run your business, how to run your family like a business. So you need to be running your family like a business organization where you are the CEO of your family, where your spouse is the CFO of your family, where the children are your secretaries and your treasurers of your family. So that is you running a family office, and you'll learn that in that book. And the last one is the Complete Book of Trust, which teaches you about the different types of trust. So remember what I said at the beginning of this call. You want to do your due diligence. You want to do your own research to find out the best type of trust for you, right? So I'm going to show you a quick video about a trustee that took action on the information that I provided today. Because that's what I need you to do. I need you to take action. Don't just sit here and listen to what I'm saying. You need to implement it. Hold on.
Well, kudos to you all. Again, Christina, it's been a wonderful experience. I've been looking at your videos on YouTube for a while, and there are a number of people offering trust these days, and I guess that's the big thing. Don't own anything, control everything. That kind of, I didn't say it correctly, but that is the sentiment. And so it seems like the playing field is being leveled now from the rich and people who weren't privy to this information. So thank you for being such a great asset to a community that didn't have this information. And you made it so simple. Thank you for the recordings. Thank you for the step-by-step instructions, things that we can go back and look at. So we do appreciate you. And thank you, Mondo. That was a great explanation of infinite banking. I know a number of people are talking about that, but they make it so complex. And his presentation was nice and succinct and very informative. So this has been an overall great experience. Definitely will recommend you to others.
All right, guys. So you want to take action on... Okay, relax video. We get it. You want to take action on the information that I provided you guys with tonight. It could be your new form of doing business, of making profit, of saving on taxes and protecting your assets, right? That's the most important thing, is for you to protect your assets. So you want to treat this like a big business. You want to treat this like an Amazon, a Facebook. You don't want to treat this like a small mom and pop shop, right? This is not what that is, right? You have a whole entire organization here, and you want to incorporate trust within your structure, you guys, because like I said, those of you guys who are on the call today, you guys are the generational curse breakers in your family. You guys are the ones that are going to change the trajectory of your kids' life, because now your kids, they can't inherit your job, but they can inherit your trust estate, right? And now you can raise them to become future trustees, to become your successors. And that's how they're going to be raised now. They're going to be taking over and operating the trust after you have decided to step down. And then that's going to happen for many generations, for your kids' kids. But it takes one person in the family to decide to take that leap of faith and to decide to break these generational curses, to break the chains, to get out of the cycles, to get off the hamster wheel. It takes that one person. That one person is you. You that's on this Zoom call right now. So let's work together, you guys. I do have a program where I teach you step by step how to accomplish this entire thing, okay? This entire formula of you actually creating your legacy. So I have 3 different options for you here. The first one is for you to do it yourself, which is a course, you guys. So I have an online course. It has 43 video modules, and you can learn step by step how to set up the 3 trusts that I just told you about: the business trust, the family trust, and the tax exempt trust. Those 3 trusts come into the program. So what happens in the program is you have the video module and you're going to watch it. You're going to download the trust template and you're going to customize it specifically for your business, specifically for your family, specifically for your nonprofit or your charity. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. You are also going to have lifetime access. Plus, it comes with resources and ebooks. So the books that I just mentioned in the previous slide, those books electronically come included inside of the program. Some of those books cost more than $800 on Amazon, and you get it electronically inside of the program, the ebook version, okay? The second thing is resources. So everything that you need in order to actually operate a trust, we provide you with those resources and templates and guides. Meaning that if you need to file taxes, we provide you with the 1041s. If you need to open up a bank account, we provide you with the list and the resources. If you need to transfer your house, we provide you with the quick claim deeds. If you need to transfer your business, we provide you with the business purchase agreement and the steps that you need to take in order to change the, in order to switch up your amendments with your articles of organization. So every single thing that you need in order to run your trust the right way and operate it, we provide you with the resources. We also build a community. So we have a private Facebook community as well as a Telegram chat. In our program, we have over 800 trustees, and you guys have full access to these individuals, okay? So in our Facebook community, that's where we post Q&A, and that's where you guys get to network. In our Telegram chat, we're chatting on Telegram all the time with questions, with announcements, with help, with resources, everything that you guys need, okay? And so you have access to that because that's what you want. You want to have access to like-minded individuals who are also trustees, who have been operating their trust for years, who are already in the space that you want to be in, where their house is in the trust, their car is in the trust, their money, their crypto, all of this stuff, okay? So the course is only $997, you guys. And like I said, it's on demand, it's independent learning, you get access right away, and you have it for life. The second option is Done With You. Done With You is where we do it together in a group style setting. So just like how we are on Zoom right now today, that is how we will be for the workshop, okay? So the workshop is 1 week long. It's Monday through Friday from 11 in the morning to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, all right? It's Monday through Friday. So on Monday, what we do is we will set up the business trust together. The business trust is 50 pages, you guys. So what we do is I break down every single paragraph of the trust, okay? Why? Because I want you to understand the contents of the trust, meaning that I need you to know every single little thing that's inside of this trust so that you feel empowered to know that you can operate as a trustee and you know what's inside of your trust. All right. So we break down every single paragraph, and then after that, we dive into Q&A. Q&A is so powerful. Why? Because people are asking questions you did not know you wanted to know. So because you are in this type of space, you get to learn more. You start going down a whole snowball effect where now more information is being provided, okay? So that's Monday. Tuesday, we set up the family trust together. We dive into Q&A. Wednesday, we set up the nonprofit together. We dive into Q&A. And for those of you guys who want to go down the route of becoming ordained, I show you guys how to do that. Thursday, I show you how to apply for an EIN with the IRS. I show you how to have a board meeting so that you can actually document properly and have good record keeping for your trust. Then I show you the steps it takes in order for you to open up a bank account. And I show you how to do a promissory note so that you can document the loans that are coming in and out of your trust organization and how much you're going to fund the trust with. And lastly, I have a guest speaker who comes in with over a decade of experience, who comes in and teaches you how to get OPM. I'm so serious when it comes to OPM, you guys. So that's how I started, right? Like, I don't know if you guys were on the call, but when I bought my first real estate property, I got 100% of the money. The house was a little 2-bedroom house for $89,000. I did not put $1 into the purchase price of the $89,000, right? The person who, and this was in 2015, that person who gave me the money, I spoke to her today. So you want to use OPM, other people's money, okay? So I have a guest speaker who comes in, who he's going to teach you how to get, how to create business credit and how to establish it, and then how to get business funding, right? How to get funding for your trust so that you can leverage the funding so that you can acquire the assets that you need to acquire, right? So that's Thursday. Friday, the very last day of the workshop, we're going to focus on assets. So you're going to take an inventory of your assets. And then for real estate, I'm going to show you how to actually create a quit claim deed. Okay. I'm going to provide you with the templates. I'm going to show you how to fill it out. I'm also going to show you where to record it with the county recorder's office so that you can officially legally put your property into a trust, right? The second thing I'm going to show you is how to fill out a bill of sale for your vehicle so that you can submit it with the DMV so that you can put your car into the trust if you have the title to your vehicle. And then I'm going to show you how to transfer your business into the trust, okay? So you're going to fill out a business purchase agreement, and then you're going to do the amendment with the Secretary of State so that you can remove yourself as the authorized member and add the business trust as the authorized member, okay? And then the last thing is I have a guest speaker who's going to come in with over 14 years of experience in the insurance industry. And she's going to teach you step by step how to set up these types of policies, the cash value life insurance policies, the index universal life insurance policies, so that you can use it, 1, to eliminate debt, and 2, to build wealth with it. So you can have the trust be the owner, the payer, and the beneficiary of the policy. So we show you step by step. We hold your hand through the whole process, okay? So you get the assistance that you need. You get your questions answered on demand right away, right? We don't end the call without your questions being answered, right? And so you get that sense of security to know that you're doing things the right way. With the workshop, you still get access to the course, you guys. So the workshop is only $2,500. You do get lifetime access to the workshop, which means that every single time that we do a workshop, which is every 4 weeks, you get to attend the workshop, which is vitally important because it helps with retention. If you hear this information 2 and 3 times, you're going to retain it to the point that you're going to be able to regurgitate it, to the point that you're going to know it like the back of your hand, and you're going to feel so empowered and so comfortable operating as a trustee, which is what you need. That is your new life. Your new life is operating as a trustee. So with that being said, the workshop is absolutely phenomenal. Let's move on to, let me give you the dates actually. So the next workshop is January 6th to the 10th, okay? Like I said, it's 11 in the morning to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The last option is do it one-on-one, where you want to do private sessions. So that means that it's me and you, and we meet on Zoom, and it's private. And so the first thing that we do is we dive into structure. So we will dismantle your structure to get you restructured to now incorporate the 3 trusts, right? The business trust, the family trust, and the nonprofit, okay? And then from there, you get individualized support. You get extended support as well. You still get access to the workshops and the course materials, so you still get to attend those, but we will we'll help you set up everything, right? So we'll do the trust for you, so it's a done for you type of thing. We'll notarize it, we'll ship it to you, apply for your EINs, help you set up your bank accounts, and help you transfer all of your assets into the trust. So my team and I, we do all of the paperwork, and then from there, help you acquire more assets. So once you're ready for that. So the private sessions are only $10,000. So you just get to choose which program works best for you, okay? So if you want to do it by yourself, if you're an independent learner, if you want to do it as a group where you're collectively collaborating with others, or if you want private sessions because you have multiple businesses, multiple assets, okay? So what you want to do is you want to go hold on, let me go to the next slide. So you want to do is you want to go to our website. So it's www.wealthytrustee.com, and you can go ahead and enroll, okay? So for those of you guys that are on the call right now, I'm going to offer you guys 20% off, okay? So that means that you can enjoy 20% off of the price that I just mentioned, and all you have to use is the discount code. The discount code is TRUST20, all one word, okay? TRUST20, trust and then the number 20. So that's it. So now, you can contact us. So you can either call us or text us on the number that you see on the screen. You can visit our website, you can send us an email, and you can visit us on social media. What I want to do now is I want to show you what the course looks like, and I want to show you what a trust looks like so that you can understand and understand it a little bit better. So this is, hold on one second. So this is what the this is what the course looks like. All right, so like I said, it has 43 video modules. So first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna go straight into trust entity, where you learn the foundation of a trust. So you learn what is a trust and the different parties involved, the grantor, trustee, beneficiaries, successors, protectors, the different types of trust and the benefits. Then you learn how to set up your tax exempt trust. So we break down the Constitution, the bylaws, the schedules, and how to apply for the EIN. Then you learn how to set up your family trust. So we break down the declaration, the bylaws, how to set up your EIN. Then the same thing with the business trust. We go through the indenture and bylaws, and then how to set up your EIN. And then we go through tax strategies so that you can learn how to operate your tax exempt, entity, the difference between the three types of trust, and what distributable net income is, and how to avoid tax evasion. Then we go into asset protection. So you're going to go ahead and take an inventory of your asset first so that you know which assets are going to qualify to be transferred in the trust and which assets are not. Then you learn how to open up a bank account, a brokerage account, how to transfer your house, your car, your insurance policies, your businesses, and how to do board meetings. So there's so many people that I know that are operating entities like LLCs and corporations, and they've never done a board meeting. So we show you the right way to operate your entity. Then we go into wealth creation, where you're going to learn how to build credit with the business trust using OPM. You learn how to invest those funds in the stock market with index funds and REITs. And then you learn how to marry it with the insurance policies and implement the infinite banking strategy. Then you learn about a legacy crest for your family legacy. And then we provide you with all the resources that you need and all the ebooks that you need. So that is the course that you guys will be enrolling in. And the last thing I want to do is I want to show you what a trust looks like. So this is an example of one of our trust documents. All right, so this is the contract that I was telling you guys about. Everything that you see in red is what you're going to be filling out for your trust entity. So this is what you're going to be customizing for your entity, okay? These are all of the provision and bylaws that we have in here that makes your trust bulletproof, so that in the event that anything happens, your trust is going to be impenetrable when it comes to any type of court proceedings. So with that being said, thank you so much for being here tonight. What I want to do is I want to answer any questions that you might have. So please raise your hand so that I can answer your questions. So the first hand that I see is Kamala. Hi, Kamala.
Hi, sorry about that. I'm driving, coming from work. Hi, Christine. How are you?
Hi, Kamala. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm happy to jump in for a little bit.
Oh, awesome, awesome.
Yes, yes, yes. God, I didn't. I have my papers and everything. I just did not start working on it yet because I've been so busy working. I attend your last class you had in the beginning of December, but I haven't started doing anything yet. I'm waiting until I have some time off from work, which is after Christmas. But anyway, my question is, um, containing let me think about what I was asking. Okay, you were talking about the life insurance, right? And what I want to ask is, okay, you are, oh, what should I ask this? You are putting you're putting all your pay into the insurance, right? And so my question is, you're saying that when the insurance grow in value, you could borrow against the cash value. So how long is that going to take before that cash value start growing? Isn't that going to take some time before you could actually borrow from it?
Yes, yes. So I tell people you want to give yourself a year. So generally with IULs, if you're going to set up an IUL, then you'll start generating that compound interest at the 13th month. So this is not an overnight thing. This is not a get rich quick thing. This is where you are going to pay your premiums. And then once you've built up enough cash value, then you can start implementing it where you can start funneling your paycheck into there. So you're not going to do this overnight. You cannot start this process with putting your paychecks inside of the IULs right away, because with your policy, there's a surrender charge. So that means that in the event that you decide to cancel your policy, in the event that you decide to cancel your policy, then it's kind of like a security deposit where you surrender those funds. So initially your premium payments are going to go towards, a little bit is going to go to cash value, a little bit is going to go to an insurance carrier, and a little bit is going to go to the surrender charge. So this is not an overnight thing. This is where you've built it up to the point. So generally I tell people, give yourself a year, build it up to the point to where you fulfilled your surrender charge, and now you have enough cash value to where you can funnel in your paycheck and you can borrow. So it's like this.
Good. Oh my God, you answered that so perfectly. Thank you. Because that was my number one question from the beginning, because I'm saying, how are you going to pay into this interest? Because you're budgeting from the little money you have that you use to pay all your bill. And I'm saying this thing's going to take time for it to grow in cash value. So how are you going to put all your money in it and still pay your bills from it when it's the cash value you're borrowing it from? You can't really borrow from the insurance, until it's been there for a while. So thank you for answering that. I appreciate that.
You're so welcome, Kamala. Yes, and so you have to have the cash value in order to borrow it, okay? So you can't have your cash value 0 and then go ask them for 5,000. You have to have 5,000 in there to ask them for 5,000. So that was a very good question, Kamala, and I just want to say thank you so much for being in the program. So she just joined us. She attended the workshop in December. So we are here to hold you accountable. So just let us know what help that you need, and whenever you're ready to book that one-on-one so that I can review all of your documents before you get them notarized, okay?
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a good night, Christine.
You too. You have a good night too. Thank you, Kamala. All right.
Bye.
All right. Next we have Mr. Mikael. How are you?
Michelle, last name? Gilles?
Michelle.
Yeah, Gilles Michel. Yes. I want to piggyback on her question there. Does that work the same way with the whole life term insurance? That you have to wait a year and a month?
I mean, whole life and term are two different things. So term doesn't
Okay.
have
Well,
any cash value.
not term, I mean whole life insurance.
Okay. So no, you do not have to wait a year. So, with the whole life, whatever you put in, you're not going to get 100% of it back. You're going to get way less, but you can borrow immediately. So, it's not the same thing, but it's way less. So with the whole life, you have the fixed rate. So it's usually like 3-4%. With the IUL, it could be anywhere between 0 to upwards of 12%. So, yeah.
Okay. My other question, will you be creating a framework for international trust? Because I have family, my family is from Haiti, and my dad has property out there. And eventually, when he not existing anymore, I'd like to be able to protect his property so it stays in the family.
That's a good question. My family's from Haiti too. And
Okay.
we are going to be including an international trust into the program. That is going to be next year. So it's going to be sometime within the first quarter. So you are automatically going to be grandfathered in as long as you are inside of the program, which I know you are. So that means that you have lifetime access. So we are going to be including an international trust into the program. So those are going to be additional modules and templates. And so you're going to see that in your portal, and that's going to be coming soon in the first quarter of 2025. So you can utilize that for offshore bank accounts and any kind of international investments and real estate.
Okay. Also, my last question for tonight is, when you say you could use a business trust to operate as a business, does that mean that you don't have to do a DBA or register with the?
That is correct. Yeah, you don't have to register. You don't have to register the business with the Secretary of State. You don't have to do any DBAs or anything like that. So you can just set up your business trust and run your business.
And just get local permits for like storefronts and stuff like that. So I'm guessing.
Yeah, whatever is applicable for your business. So if you need licensing, if you need a brick and mortar, whatever is applicable.
Okay. Alrighty. I appreciate your answers and helping us figure this out. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, next
Very nice.
we have Durant. Durant.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. How you doing, Christina? So I just got a couple quick questions. I'm gonna definitely join the program. Just trying to make sure that I'm gonna sign up for the right one, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So one question is the three trusts. So I know like the business trust, which would basically be equivalent to like a holding company. Are those three trusts under one? Like, will you show me in the workshop or the one for $2,500? Will you show me how to create all that under one, or is it really three different trusts?
Oh, it's really three different trusts.
So
So
it's
so these are three different beasts, right?
okay.
So none of the trusts look the same. So for example, the business trust is 50 pages, and the sole purpose of it is it's designed to manage other entities. So it's very specific, okay? The second trust is the family trust. That is an asset holding trust. That is designed to hold personal assets that are not related to your business or investments. So that means your primary residence, that means cash, anything like that, right? Your retirement account, IRAs, things like that. So and so that one is 27 pages. And then the nonprofit is specifically for charities, churches, philanthropic endeavors and ministries. That one is 62 pages. So they don't have the same verbiage or anything. They are three different entities, and they need to be operated separately as three entities. So that means you're going to have three different EINs, three different bank accounts, and you're going to be doing board meetings for three different entities.
So let me ask you this, since you say that. So if I have, let's say, okay, the three different trusts, and I have one trust that's for nonprofit, and the reason I'm asking is because I've seen where, like, I've seen certain people say, like, they created like a circle of trust. to where basically like they have a business that funds the trust, and okay, they pay the beneficiaries out of that, and then what's left over they donate to the to the nonprofit organization that's also under the same trust. That's not possible. That's not the right way to do it.
It is. That's what we do. So you have to connect them. So the business trust is generating income, right? The beneficiary of the business trust is the family trust. So now money is flowing from the business to the family, and then money is flowing from the business to the nonprofit, right? And then
Gotcha.
the nonprofit has also a beneficiary. The nonprofit of the beneficiary of the nonprofit is the family trust, because it can't be a human. So with that one, you have to, donate to an entity, or not donate, but the beneficiary has to be an entity. So then it's, in the event that it's terminated, it flows in the direction of the family. And then in the middle is the family trust, where your children are the beneficiaries. So that's how it works.
Okay. So I just got two quick more questions, and then I think you're gonna basically tell me which way I need to go. So can it be multiple people, like just say for instance it's me and my wife? Can it be me and my wife over the trust and then my kids be the beneficiary? Is that possible?
For the family trust, yeah.
Okay. And then also, if I have like my personal home and it has a mortgage on it, can I move a property that has a mortgage on it into the trust?
Absolutely, yeah. So your mortgage is going to remain intact. And it's going to remain, on that property, and it's going to remain on your credit, and it's going to remain in your personal name.
All right.
And it doesn't trigger a due on sale clause. So nothing is going to happen if you deed it over from your name into the trust.
Okay, so this is my final question, and I just honest opinion. Should I, in order for me to do, I just basically summed everything up that I'm trying to do in those 4 or 5 questions. So should I do the one-on-one with you? Is that the only way that I'm going to be able to design all that, or will I learn that in the do-it-yourself course for the 2,500, basically?
So the best option, the one-on-one is a whole
Bathroom?
nother beast. Your best option is for you to get into the workshop.
Okay.
You'll learn all of this stuff in the workshop. You're obviously going to learn it for the one-on-one. But in the workshop, you'll learn it. And then if you want to upgrade later on to the one-on-one, you can do that. The one-on-one is specifically where we do it for you. We educate you, we teach you everything, but then we also do it for you, so you don't have to do it yourself. With the workshop, you have to do it yourself. The only thing that we're going to do is just double check
Now, do I
your
got to pay double for that though? Like, if I do the workshop, do I got to pay the 2,500, and then okay, let's say in a month I'm like, hey, you know what? I prefer to just work with Christina one-on-one. Do I get discounted because I paid the workshop? Do I get like some type of discount
yeah.
on a one-on-one, or is it like, nope, you signed up for this one, so no, I need 10,000 for the one-on-one?
So, so you are able to upgrade, and all you have to do is just pay the difference. So you can upgrade at any point in time. You just let us know, and we'll send you an invoice for the difference, and then you're upgraded, and we can start working one-on-one whenever you're ready.
All right, perfect. Oh, no, 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 no. One question. Why I got you. And in the workshop, am I taught how to add assets to my trust? That was my last
Yes,
question.
yes. On Friday, we go over asset inventory. We go over quit claim deeds, bill of sales, business purchase agreements. So we show you how to add houses, cars, businesses, and list the assets and stuff.
And then
And
you'll show me how to make leases like from from like my holding company to different LLCs on under the business trust as
no,
well.
no, that has nothing to do with transferring assets. A lease doesn't have anything to do with transferring assets.
So I won't learn that part in the workshop.
No. So
So I
your
need I need the one-on-one.
yeah,
That's
so
what I'm asking. So like I'm just trying to make sure that like I'm just like I say, I'm not trying to waste your time, but I just know like specific things, because like I know when it comes to like a holding company, you kind of want to like lease certain things, and basically I'm referring to real estate because like I want to lease a LLC in this state. I'm gonna basically like a contract between my holding company or a lease agreement between my holding company and this LLC for these properties in this state. See what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah. So that's what we do in real estate. So you'll have the trust be the owner of the property, and then you'll have the LLC be the manager, and so there'll be a lease agreement between the two. So that's what we do. Like in the one-on-ones,
Okay.
it's extended support, it's specialized, and it's customized specific for your structure and for your situation. So your situation is not the same as everyone else's.
Okay. You answered my question. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you,
Okay.
Duran. All
Yep.
right, have a good one.
You too.
Next we have Anik.
Yes, that's
Hi,
correct.
hi,
Hi.
awesome.
Thank you
That's
so much for this. This is super informative.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you for being here tonight.
Thanks. So I actually purchased the do-it-yourself option a couple months ago, but I like laid it aside, and so now I'm chiming back in to actually do it. And so my question, I saw that there's a Telegram group. I'm in the Facebook group already, but I see there's a Telegram group. Like, how do I get connected with that?
Yeah, so we will send you the link.
Okay.
Um, so if you could text us, you have our number, right?
Yeah, it was the number that you put on the screen earlier in the last
Yeah.
slide, right?
Yes, yeah. So if you text our number that you need the link, then my team will send it to you now.
Okay.
Right away.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, and then the next question that I had, so setting up the business trust, and I want to set that up as like an operating business, an operational business, but I have a business partner. So how do you recommend the distribution look like with that? Because in the example that you use, you have the business trust set up, and then whatever money that you have left over after expenses flows to the family trust. Like basically, I guess that's how you pay yourself. So how would you recommend that setup like work when you actually have two, I guess, a business partner, like two people operating the business?
That's a really good question. So if you have a business trust and it's like 50-50, then what you're going to do is you're going to issue 50 TCUs to your family trust, and then 50 TCUs to either that individual, or if that individual has a trust or another entity, then those 50 TCUs will go to them, and then you'll do distributions that way. So now if 100,000 comes in and 50 is entitled to you, then it'll go to your family trust. And if 50 is entitled to the other business partner, then it'll go to their entity or their name.
Perfect. That makes perfect sense. So then with the family trust, because I was trying to look through some of those things with the family trust, is it required to have more than one trustee? And I may be confused between the trustees and the board of directors, because I saw like two groups of people where it looks like you had to have more than just one person. Is that kind of what it is across the board? Like, do you need more than one trustee? Because right now it's just pretty much myself that will be setting up all of these things. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out what that looks like.
Okay, absolutely. So legally, you're only required to have one trustee. If you want to have more than one trustee, then you can put whatever minimum you want. So if you want your trust to operate always with two trustees, you can place that as a minimum. The second thing is you're going to have a governing body, which is the board of trustees. The board of trustees is going to consist of you as well as two other members, at least two other members. It could be one other person, but sometimes it gets a little technical because in the event that you need, a vote or something like that, it won't end in a unanimous vote. So you want two other people to be a part of your board. Those people, you can appoint them as your secretary or your treasurer, and then they'll just be there to assist you in the operations of the trust. So you can appoint them at any point in time, whenever you see fit.
Okay, awesome. And then very last question for you. With the 508c1A trust, the nonprofit trust, how do you use those funds, right? Like, so if you're, an example that you used 70 went to the family, you used all that and $10,000 went to the nonprofit trust. Now that that $10,000 is sitting in there, can that be utilized at all for your personal family or for yourself? Or is that strictly at that point, now the money's in there and it needs to be used for charitable things or philanthropy, stuff like that? Like how do you actually legally use those funds once they're there?
So for the only entity that you want to use for personal stuff and family stuff is the family trust. So
Okay.
for the nonprofit, you want to use those funds primarily for investments. So for example, that 10,000, you can go and buy Bitcoin with it, right? Or you can go ahead and acquire real estate. You can go ahead and put it in index funds. You can go ahead and lend it to a business, like you can buy stocks in a company, right? Or you as the trustee can borrow it, and then it doesn't trigger a taxable event. Or if you wanted to render a service that would be like a 1099, then you could 1099 yourself and pull funds out that way. So you can either render a service, you can borrow those funds as a loan, or you can invest those funds into any investment that you feel.
That's it. Because the one I'm setting up is I'll actually be rendering services. So I was trying to figure out what that looks like. How do I actually get the money out from that? So I would 1099 myself and pay myself, or either distribute the money back to the family trust, I guess, and then use it from that point.
All
Is
right.
that okay? Okay. All right. That was super helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Next we have Danielle. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, Christine. How are you?
Oh, hi, Danielle. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm tired, but I'm here.
Yeah. I understand completely.
Yeah, so I am,
I'm glad that you're here.
yeah, thanks for having me. This is really great information. I'm kind of new to this, so I'm trying my best to absorb everything and to make it make sense, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And so I have a daycare business that I'm running through a previous home that I used to live in. And so I'm just trying to understand all of this, right? So I signed up for the 20-minute consultation with you. Would that be a good time for me to kind of talk to you and give you, I guess, ask the questions that I have and get more insight on what direction I need to kind of go into?
Yeah, you can ask any questions. So it's complimentary, 20 minutes. You can ask any questions. I'll answer them. Anything.
Okay, perfect. Because I think well, first of all, I missed like the first 30 minutes of this meeting. And then I think I heard you mention a couple of packages, the 10,000 and the 2,500. But
Yeah.
then my husband mentioned that you said something about another package that I missed that information. So was there another package?
Yeah, the other package is the course where you do it yourself, and that's $997. And so this webinar is recorded. So if you want to watch the recording, I definitely highly recommend that. If you want to catch the first 30 minutes, and then if you want to rewatch where I was talking about the packages. So do you see inside of the chat where we have our YouTube channel? So we are live on YouTube right now. Do you see it?
Okay, let's see. You said check the chat.
Yeah, do you see it? If not, I can repost it.
Here is the YouTube channel for webinar replay.
Yep. So we're live right now. So if you go on there, you'll see us right now. And so you can rewind it and we'll watch what you missed. And then we can talk privately and I'll answer any questions that you have if you want to disclose like your unique situation.
Okay, perfect. Okay, that sounds good.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Next we have Mike. Hey, Mike. Hey, Mike, Cook, you have a question? You're on mute. I'm not sure if you're talking, but you're on mute.
Okay, I got it.
Awesome.
Had an elderly moment. Sorry. Um, so I think my question, I was trying not to ask a similar question to the brother earlier, but I'm kind of on the same lines. So my situation is I currently have assets right now. So when you were saying the things you were saying, it was kind of hitting home. And then I'm currently in probate with two family members that passed. So yeah,
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm knee deep. So I already know it sounds like I'm probably more of a one-on-one between the assets, the businesses, and the accounts
Okay.
because I think I have all the pieces, but they're not together. So I have a puzzle in the middle of the floor that just looks like jambalaya and
Yep.
not a beautiful picture.
Yeah, exactly. I totally understand you. So I think like for your particular situation, it would benefit for you to do one-on-one so that we can get you restructured.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. The one thing I didn't catch, and it might have been just me just not paying attention too clear, but do you guys actually set up a nonprofit or just set up a nonprofit trust?
Oh, just the trust. So the trust is a nonprofit, it's a 508c1a. We help you get your EINs, and then you'll go ahead and open up your bank accounts and stuff. We have,
Okay,
but yeah, we don't go down the traditional route where you'll apply for a 501 or anything like that.
okay, okay. I don't know the difference. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'm I'm okay with it if it's good or bad. So
Okay.
that's
You,
perfectly fine.
yeah, you could still operate it the same way that you would a traditional nonprofit.
Okay. And I think my last question, I don't want to take time. I'm signing up for 20 minutes, but I think my last question is, well, I know my last question is, um, thank you for answering the international question. Because I'm actually living overseas now. But
Oh,
my
nice.
question is,
Congrats.
yeah, it's pretty cool until it's not.
Yeah.
Uh,
Wait, where are you at, Mike?
oh, I'm in Bahrain.
Where?
So Bahrain,
Where is that at?
south of UAE. It's a hot skipping a jump from UAE.
Oh, okay, cool. I have property in Dubai, so I like the UAE.
Nice. There you go.
Yeah.
Um, and that was another reason that somebody sent me this link stateside. Um, if you are currently earning money from various properties, do you strongly suggest having the trust or like getting rid of the current LLCs and just get like do you keep what you have or do you just purge it and get new? Like what
So
is
So you just want to get restructured, but what you want to do is you want to keep what you have that's existing, right?
okay,
If it's not broken, don't fix it, right?
okay,
So keep what you have, but then incorporate the trust. With those properties that you have, they need to be directly owned by the trust in order to avoid probate. Okay,
yeah,
so if they're owned by the LLC, they're still going to go through probate. So
yeah,
what you want to do is you want to have the LLC be the manager of those properties and the trust be the owner of the properties.
okay, that's super sweet. And it doesn't matter what state or does it have to be a certain state too?
Yeah, no, the state doesn't matter.
Okay. And we called a number that you posted, the 305 number to set up the 20-minute consultation.
Yeah, call me tomorrow.
Okay. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Have a safe. I think it's night for you guys. Yeah. Have a safe night.
You too, Mike. Thank you for being here. Have a good night or morning. All right. Next we have Namir. Hey, Namir. Hey, Namir.
Christine, you gonna be crazy.
Hey.
I don't really
What's
have no questions. You always answer all the questions. I just, always got to come. I always got to tell you the greatest, and I just want to, just let the people know that you are the greatest. And what you do, you just don't. I got into this trust thing like years ago. I was rocking with the Moorish science and the different things, and hearing about compound interest and just all this stuff. And I like the brother said, all the stuff just is a puzzle on the floor. And here you come. You know what I'm saying? Like the puzzle wizard. I don't know what to call you, but you are just amazing, man. I just, every time I see you and I hear you, people would tell me that when I talk to them that they always remember my voice, and you know what I'm saying, when they go to do something, they ain't got no business doing, it's me. But it's like every time I heard, trust right now, right, is so fast, right? A lot of people really don't know about what's going on. Like, so what you're doing, like you say you changing the trajectory of our people, but you don't know it. You changing like the trajectory of the world, like, because a lot of people, what you're getting, and then what you giving them for the price, I just, I can't even like explain it. I love you, man. You the greatest. This is all I can kind of tell you. I'm so happy, and I supposed to be coming in on the 6th, because I got to do it yourself at first, and I was like, I can't do this myself. Ain't no way.
Yeah.
It's too much. So I had to upgrade, but I get on every call and I just be listening. Like the more I listen, the more it continues to just sink in. I don't know. You're just inspirational, and I want to just give you your flowers now. You know what I'm saying?
Thank
If I had your
you.
address, I'd send you some bouquets, girl. I'm telling you, you are the greatest, man. I'm telling you. I
Thank
know.
you
I know. I
so much.
always say it, but it's the truth. And and the last thing I want to say, the revolution would not be televised. It will be on paper. So if we
Yeah.
don't have our paperwork together, right? Like you say, people talk about doing it, but they ain't doing it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you're doing it. You've been an example. You're leading the way. So I just want to say, I shade to you. And hey, you the greatest. Okay, peace and love.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Oh my
Namir. I
God.
appreciate
Yeah.
you. I appreciate you so, so, so much. Namir has been in the community for a while now. And just like he said, like he started off with do it yourself. He upgraded to done with you to the workshops, and you have lifetime access. So anytime that we do the workshops, you just come right in, and retention is key. So the more that you hear this information, the more you get comfortable with it, and the more you feel empowered to operate it the right way and as a trustee. So I'm so, so, so grateful for you, Namir, always showing up and showing out. And this is what building a community is all about. So like I tell you guys, we have over 800 trustees. So you want to get into the community so that you can be in connection with these like-minded individuals. It's life-changing. It really is. So thank you so much, Namir. I appreciate you. All right, guys. So we have two more questions. We got Maria, and then we got Humberto. So Maria, how are you?
I'm doing well.
All right, awesome. Thank you for being here, Maria.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
I got kicked out the Zoom twice. I don't know what happened, but
Uh,
I'm trying to catch up.
yes,
But my
ma'am.
my question was, which trust owns which trust? Like, which one will be at the top?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So none of the trusts own other trusts. So you have the trusts that are serving as the beneficiaries or the trustees of other trusts. So the family trust is going to be the beneficiary of both the business and the nonprofit. So the money is going to be flowing in from the business trust to the family, and then from the business trust to the nonprofit.
Okay. And then are we doing like the 9-8 numbers?
That's if you want to. So not everyone qualifies for the 9-8 number, but we do provide you with the resources and instructions that you need in order to apply for the 9-8 number the right way.
Okay. And also, do you which trust would you hold the um your life insurance policies or whatever property you actually own? And would you ever put your birth certificates inside of a trust?
So if your birth certificate is authenticated as an asset, you can place it into the trust. You'll place it into the family trust. If the property is your primary residence, then you'll place it into the family trust. If it is an investment, then you'll place it into a business trust. And your life insurance policies will typically go into your family trust.
Okay. Okay, so family trust is where. Okay. And will we have to give you a call to get further information and know how to well, one, do you give templates on how to build the trust?
Yes, we provide you with the templates. So I was showing you guys earlier what it looks like. So this is an example of one of our templates. So this one is like 60 something pages. So if you see everything that's in red, that's what you're going to be customizing for your entity. So we provide you with the templates for all three trusts.
Okay. I was trying to get into the Zoom meetings that you had last week or the week before, and I kept on missing them.
Yeah, so it was the workshop. It's Monday through Friday from 11 to 2. So you have to be enrolled, into that particular, you have to be enrolled into Done With You, into the workshops for you to have access to it. And then you'll have lifetime access. So the next workshop is January 6th to the 10th, Monday through Friday, 11 to 2.
Okay, but we can also call in beforehand to get one-on-one before the new year comes.
Yes.
Okay, because I know I need to have some corrections done before the before the new year comes.
Absolutely.
Like the BOIs and so, and we don't have to do a BOI with the trust, correct?
Yeah, so the BOIs, you don't have to do the BOIs anymore. So Google it and you'll find out that they have went
In
away with
Texas. Yeah.
it's nationwide.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, but the court what you call it came from Texas.
Yes,
Um,
correct. It was a judge in Texas, but it's federal, it's nationwide.
okay.
Yes,
And
but to answer your question, the trusts do not have to fill out BOIs.
okay. All right. Well, that sounds like a plan. Um, and we just call and we can go from there.
Yes.
Okay. And I think that may have been the bulk of my questions.
All right,
Okay.
Maria, thank you
I'll
for
talk
being
to you
here.
tomorrow.
All right, awesome.
Thank
Next we
you.
have, you're welcome. We have Roberto.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect. How are you?
Oh, I'm pretty well.
All
Oh,
right, awesome.
me and my partner been trying to create this trust for a while. And
Mm-hmm.
first we thought it was a living trust. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
we went to Rocket Lawyer, got the templates, and figured out that you can't really customize that. And later on, we also found out that a living trust doesn't protect you.
All right.
So,
Yep.
yeah. So
Yeah,
apparently,
those are statutory trusts.
oh, those are statutory trusts. Okay.
Yeah, statutory, yeah.
So therefore, it's an irrevocable trust that protects you against Medicare and Medicaid and all such things that people want to sue you and such as that.
That is correct.
And the thing I found amazing, and I've been listening to you for a little while now, just a few days, but enough to be impressed.
Yeah, thank you.
Really. Very few people. I've spoken to lawyers, and when I speak to them, they say, "Okay, well, we want $3,500 for a living trust." And I say, "Yeah, but I just about wrote that trust myself in Rocket Lawyer. So why would you want to charge me $3,500 for something I already wrote?" And they say, "Well, that's the nature of the business." So you're charging $2,500 for information to set up trusts that are templated by you or some attorney that was that helped you template it, or how's that come about that these are like universal templates that could be used in every state?
Yeah, they are. They're non-statutory. So they're non-statutory. So they're only domestic. You can only use it in the United States, and all of the US territories. It's operating under the common law jurisdiction. So it's just a part of an organization. It's proprietary information that is part of an institute or organization that I'm a part of. So it goes back to my mentorship, like I told you.
Have they been tested in court as to applicability or um, I'm not quite sure how to phrase this question. Do you know where I'm coming from?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So they actually have, so a few of the people who use our trust docs have gone to court and it was impenetrable. So they didn't end up having to produce the trust in court.
They didn't have to produce the trust in court?
Correct.
Well, in other words, so that they could divulge or pierce through it.
Correct.
So they didn't even have to show it to the court or have any proof that it existed.
So not to prove that it existed, they didn't have to bring the entire trust indenture. Correct.
Just a certificate of trust? Did they even have that?
Yeah, absolutely. We have the certificates.
Yeah, so that's the only thing they would even have to show the court that it does exist? Or they,
Correct. So whenever you're dealing with anything dealing with the trust, all you have to provide is the certificate.
okay. Now, but I was flabbergasted by listening to the family trust. You said that the business trust you have, and you create this business trust, and it could be used as a holding company for, I think you said LLCs or other corporations. As a holding company, what does a holding company do? I mean, is it a business trust?
So you can use it as a holding company, so means that it's going to actually hold the asset. So you have an LLC that is an asset. Okay. I don't know, some people they don't see it as it is, but it is, right? So business is an asset. So a business trust can just hold that asset. So that's what it's doing. It's holding it and it's managing it. So it's non-operational. So it's not out here providing products and services. That's not what it's utilized for if it's going to be used in that manner. So it's only going to be used to manage the asset that's providing products and services.
So it manages the LLC. Why wouldn't the LLC manage itself?
So the LLC is not going to, so first of all, an LLC can't manage itself. So an LLC is an entity that needs someone to manage it. And that's why you have either managing members or you have authorized members. Okay, so those are humans that actually manage the LLC. The LLC is a limited liability company, so its liability is limited, which means that you, as the human that is a managing member or authorized member, are then taking more liability than you need to. So if something happens in that company where a client or customer wants to sue the business, then you have the opportunity to lose all of your assets because they decided to because they decided to sue your LLC. That's why you don't want to be the managing member or the authorized member.
So you want to be a trust. That
So,
whole
so
LL.
you want a trust to be the authorized member in order for the trust to take full liability of that LLC,
And also manage it?
correct?
Yes.
That's what the members do. They
That's
manage.
what they manage, okay. So the trust itself could be a managing member of the LLC, and therefore that's why they do, because they manage. Okay. When you mentioned, so what's the point of all these lawyers? I'm kind of confounded by the lawyer thing. Why do lawyers get their noses into this if it's such a simple, straightforward process?
I don't know.
Did everybody hear that? That's funny.
That's because they want to. I don't know.
Well, there's money in it, obviously, but
It's great. It's great. It's awesome. So it's the same thing, right? So can you set up your own LLC or can you go to a lawyer to set up an LLC?
do both. Yeah, you could do your own trust.
So why do they do it? So why do lawyers set up
Well,
LLCs if
because
you just go down to the Secretary of State and do it yourself?
I believe because they
Because there's money involved. You
yeah,
just said it.
and they try to make you feel that the only way to do it properly is to go through an attorney that knows the nuances of the ups and downs of the laws, so that supposedly they're protecting you and having structured it properly.
Exactly. You got it. You know the answer. You just asking questions that you know the answer to.
In a way, just to understand. Yeah, in a way, I am asking a couple that way, and I think a lot of people want to the reassurance that it's not just a fantasy that this could be created without the attorney's involvement, and that a
Not
person.
not a fantasy. So yeah, you can create, you have the power to create your own contracts. A trust is a contract. You can create it yourself. You
Yeah,
can create your own entities, just like how you can create your LLC. A LLC is an entity. A LLC could own a house. A LLC could build credit. It's the same thing.
yeah, the same thing.
Mhm.
Now, the one that you mentioned was a family trust. Uh, that guy threw me for a loop. Um, did I understand you in saying that you could run your family like a trust in a family trust? And let's say that you're your family, you're the guy that's running it, and your wife is maybe the co-trustee, and others are involved as beneficiaries. Um, and whatever the cost of maintaining the home or the house is subtracted from, it's like the cost of doing business. Did I understand that even the cost of food would be deductible?
So to a certain degree. So anything dealing with you personally, right? So I wouldn't go as far as saying grocery, but it depends, right? So if you're on trust business and you're going to eat, then absolutely, that's an expense. Okay. If you're traveling like to another state or another country and you're on trust business, that's a trust expense, right? If a trust owns an asset, anything associated with that asset, meaning taxes, maintenance, utilities, mortgage, everything is deductible.
So if I had a home in another country that I use as my secondary home, and then when I go anything that I would have as expenses to go to that home would be trust business?
So I personally wouldn't say, so are you saying that property in another country is an asset?
Yes.
Okay, so I personally wouldn't say that because the trusts that we operate are domestic.
Oh, okay. Then so the because it's not statute? Does that have to do with the statutes?
So it's non-statutory, but the trust, the way that they're structured is designed for the US and US territories. So with that particular property that you're saying is outside of the US, it's a very unique, and so you would have to structure it the right way. So meaning that if you're like running a business or if it's some type of like
Airbnb?
yeah, like some type of service or something like that. But specifically if it's international, then I would do all of those things through an international trust and not a domestic trust.
Okay. So my partner and I are gonna, I guess we're both gonna use your service one way or the other. He wanted to be an affiliate so that when I pay you for the whatever membership it is that I'm gonna get with you, he would get a 20% discount or something like that. Not a discount, but
Commission. Yep. So do you see the link in the chat to join the affiliate program?
yeah, I think we touched it, but I was too busy listening to you to be able to break my attention into two different places. So I'll get back to the affiliate thing and make him an affiliate marketer for you.
Okay, perfect.
And then I'll become your client, and he gets his commission. Um, I did watch another show of yours or a couple broadcasts where you said that you have if you join right now or something like that, or I'm in this with you right now. But apparently, I don't know if I understood that if I didn't join you right then and there, that you had something like a 20% discount if I did join now, as opposed to joining later.
That's correct. So if you join in the next 48 hours, then you can enjoy 20% off. And so you would go to our website and you would use the discount code TRUST20. So you would hit his affiliate link, then it would direct you to our website, and then you put the discount code TRUST20, and then it'll knock off the 20%.
Okay, so that makes sense. And then also trying it on my own would be something I could try.
Yes, perfect. A lot
But
of people do that and they can upgrade later, and all they have to do is just pay the difference in order to upgrade.
yeah, that's why I understood when you were talking to the person for the one-on-one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's correct.
Hey, maybe I need more coaching, maybe I need more uh head to head with you. Uh so you've done this several hundred times now, maybe a couple thousand. So it just flows right off of your back.
Yeah, or my tongue.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me. You're
Yeah.
you're quite fluent, and the beauty of the I believe your program is that it's easy to understand the way you speak, the way you explain yourself, and I think you're a paradigm shift. Uh,
Sure. I love paradigm shifts. I do it all the time. So I'm a nurse by trade. And so the way that I was trained as a nurse is to break everything down to a third grade level. So that's the way that I teach you. I teach you like you're a third grader, and I'm very thorough, and I do one by one, step by step, little by little, this by that. I'm super thorough. So that's the type of educator that I am.
you're
Um,
not demeaning in any way.
huh?
Some educators are somewhat demeaning. They're so full of their ivory tower type of structure in their head that they actually kind of put people down in subtle ways.
You're
Yeah,
not
that's
colonialized.
yeah, that's not me.
No, that's not you.
Yeah.
So the structure that you've created on the so on the family trust, it's only if it's a trust business that you could actually deduct. It's not the family day to day. But if they're doing trust business where they get together and they're discussing what they're going to do with the money in the family, then it's trust business, I suppose. Is,
Correct.
is
Yeah.
that the way I understand it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, you will have board meetings in your organization. And so whatever, whatever it is that's happening. So whoever is rendering a service, a utility, or on trust business, it's trust expense.
So then you get to the third trust. We got the business trust, we got the family trust, and the third trust is the tax exempt trust, I believe it is. Wherein I suppose we're here in America and we could be our religion could be our own. And therefore your ministry could be your own trust could be a tax-free trust. Is that how you're looking at it? That you let's say I'm Joseph.
So it's a faith-based organization, and your faith could be in anything. Your faith could be in God. Your faith could be in water, in mankind, in the universe. So it's no restriction. It's not designed to where it's strictly religious. It could also be educational based as well.
It can also be educational based. Okay. So that makes it so under that guise, would a minister in that particular in this trust that is set up to be, let's say, educational or maybe even religious, would that fall under the such thing as that you create this ministry and you're the minister and you buy a house to, or you rent a place for the minister to, that's deductible to the minister. Could that be done? Something like that?
You can structure it that way.
Yeah. So like the priest, he comes into the Catholic Church and he has a place to live and to preach. How's that?
You can structure it that way.
You can't structure it that way. Okay. So that's about it. So a person with a W-2 income could give up to 60% of their income to a trust, one of these trusts that's charity
Well,
trust.
it's all nonprofits. So you can give it to your local church, you can give it to the Humane Society, you can give it to the Goodwill, you can give it to any nonprofit.
Well, you're not the nonprofit though.
No. So
Are
you
you?
can give it to any one of those entities and it's 100% tax deductible.
That's
So
what.
IRS limits you to up to 60% of your annual gross income.
So of your annual W-2 income, you could give up to 60% to this charitable trust that you created.
To any charity. It's not only the one that you created, it's any charity. So there's no limitations.
Okay. Well, I wasn't thinking about any other charity other than the one that we're creating in the trust. So under that guideline, it's one of the like any other charity, and it falls into the guidelines.
Yeah, it's not you. You are not the trust. The trust is not you. The trust is a separate entity from you. The trust has a constitution. The trust has board of directors. The trust has members.
Nonprofit companies uh, in California, they have. I remember a friend of mine had a nonprofit. It was rather difficult to establish it.
Yeah, that's your traditional nonprofits that are statutory in nature that have to go down the 50C3 route. They go through a lot of scrutiny.
And this one is considered a non-statutory. And under what designation is it?
508c1a, and it is it's due to the separation between church and state. So it's on their website.
508c1a. That would be a statute from the IRS.
It's a code in the IRC.
In the IRSC. Wow. So I think you've exhausted me with questions.
I think that you have exhausted me with questions, but thank you so much for being here. So I appreciate you and asking those good, wonderful questions. It is 10:30, so I am going to wrap it up. So I do have a few more people here. I have Namir, I have Maria, and then I have Dorothy, and then I am all done for the evening, you guys. We have been here for 3.5 hours.
I think I just took about an hour of it. So sorry.
Not a problem. Thank you so much. Hey, Namir.
So I did not know that so you say only authenticated birth certificate is an asset.
Yeah, it's an asset, absolutely. So you can place that asset into the trust. So you just have to put it in the Schedule B of the trust.
Okay. And
what value?
Oh, hold on one second. Say that again.
Somebody else said something. When I heard the lady say that, I wasn't sure that I thought I didn't have an asset, but I do. But and also I know I have talked about that before. Were there any other platforms that kind of educated on the authenticated birth certificate?
Yeah, so we have one person internal in our community. So I'll put you in connection with her so that she can like lead you in the right direction when it comes to that.
Not sure.
All right.
You're great. Hey, your team great, girl.
I know we're all plugged in.
Superpowers.
Yes, thank you, Namir. All right, next
Hey,
we have,
Christina, can you connect me with that person too to have your birth certificate authenticated?
yes,
Great.
you're welcome. All right, next we have Maria. Maria, do you have another question? You're on mute, Maria. I don't know.
Can you come right back to me?
Okay, next we have Dorothy.
Hi, Christina.
How
Thank
are you,
you.
Dorothy?
Good. Thank you for everything that you're doing here. It's amazing. Just listening in on your presentation is very, very informative.
Thank you.
I have some questions. So I was looking at the email that came through, and it says in there that the done with you for $2,500. It has a bulleted item called that says promissory note. Do we learn that in the do it yourself for the $997 package?
So it is a resource, but there's not a module that's associated with it. So we do provide you with the promissory notes, but we don't have a module that shows you step by step how to fill it out. So we only show you live in the workshop.
Okay. And then my next question is, I didn't know about the authenticated birth certificate. So just, will you cover that in the do-it-yourself program as well as like, how does that work?
No, we
All
don't.
that's in the workshop?
No, we don't. So we cover trust. We don't cover, anything dealing with status correction. So we have people in our community that we will direct you to them if that's the route that you want to go.
Gotcha. And then I have a question regarding a foreign grantor trust. I'm not sure much. I don't know too much about it. I've just heard a lot about it. So what is the difference with that compared to what you're teaching?
So the foreign grantor trust is a foreign trust or an international trust. So it originates outside of the United States. So with this type of entity, you will have your, grantor that is also originating outside of the United States. So it usually it is an entity. You will then apply for like a 98 number, and then you will be outside of the jurisdiction. So that's the goal of that type of trust, is to be outside of the jurisdiction of the United States. So usually that's for, international purposes. And a lot of people think that if they have a foreign grant or a trust, that they automatically don't have to pay taxes. So that's one of the misconceptions, because if you're generating US dollars, you have to pay taxes. So a foreign grantor trust, they think that they don't have to file a 1041, but then once you start generating USD, then you do have to file a 1041, which pulls you back into the jurisdiction. So it just depends. It's generally for people who do have business dealings outside of the US. And the difference between that entity and the ones that we create here is that ours are domestic. So it is utilized here in the United States, in the US territory. So that's the main difference.
Thank you. I do have a couple more questions. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but the one that's probably more important for me to know is, would you be able to direct deposit your paychecks directly into the trust if you are working, you have a W-2 job or whatever?
It depends on your employer. It also depends on the payroll. So some employers, it depends on the route that you want to take. So the first route is if you want your employer to pay your entity directly. Now, I'm not talking about direct deposit. I'm talking about, instead of them paying your name and your social, they pay your trust name and your trust EIN. So usually that is if you are a 1099, or if you have like a smaller company that you work with, then they'll let you switch your W-9 to where your trust is being paid. So that's one route. The second route is if they don't allow it, then as far as the payroll, you can make changes to the payroll's, banking information.
Amazing. Thank you. I was going to work with someone to get an IUL, but he gave me the option to choose high death benefit or higher cash value. Which way did I want to go? With your expertise, which way would you focus?
So we have our own internal team that helps with the IULs. So they structure it the right way. So getting your IULs structured properly is the way that you want to go. And then you also want to make sure that that if you do have a trust, you're tying it in with your trust to where your trust is the owner, the payer, and the beneficiary. So ideally, what you want to do is you want to do low death benefit, high cash value.
Okay, so you would do that through the workshop or through the one on or the higher paying package?
So any one of the packages, once you're in the community, we give you all of our resources, including our IUL team, our accountant, everyone. So
And if I wanted to upgrade, I can just upgrade later too, right?
At any point in time.
Okay. Thank you so much, Christina. I really appreciate you being so patient, and you're so amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. Appreciate you too. All right, Maria, you're last up, and then we're going to wrap up. Do you have another question?
Yes. Okay. So, 3 questions, and I'm gonna try to make it quick. For our IUL, I've had mine for some years now, like over 20 years. Am I able to restructure that? It is a whole life policy still, but are you able to restructure those once they're already established?
So ideally, no. So once it's established, it's very hard to restructure it. So it really depends on your carrier. And IU and a whole life are two different policies. So it sounds like you have a whole life and not an IUL. So
Okay.
so they are very, very, very different. They're not the same thing. And it depends on the carrier, to be honest with you, on what you can and cannot do.
Okay. And going back to like if you already have a holding company and a LLC, should you or can you just restructure that and get it amended to become a trust instead,
Instead of what?
instead of it being a holding company or a LLC. Like
So
if I wanted to replace the LLC for the business trust and the holding company, or however it goes.
So what you can do is if you have an existing holding company that is an LLC, if you wanted to dissolve it, you could dissolve it, and then you can have your business trust now become the owner of the other entity and act as your holding company.
Can you repeat that one more time? I'm sorry.
If you would like to dissolve your holding company, you can do that if you decide to do that. So if you decide to dissolve your holding company, then the entity that it was holding, you can have the business trust hold that entity directly.
Okay. Okay. Is it best to keep that LLC? The
I would tell you that it depends on how you're using the LLC. So if you have an LLC that you're not using and you're just wasting money doing an annual report every single year, that's something that you have to determine. Also, age is very important, especially if you're going for funding. So before you decide to dissolve an entity, use it for funding purposes first.
Okay. And then my last question is about the 98 number and the trust. So if you are working with multiple states, um does it necessarily have to be out of the United States to get a 98 number?
So in order for you to qualify for a 98 number, the entity has to be outside of the United States. So you have to provide them with a foreign address. That's
Always.
not a US address.
Always, correct?
Correct? You won't get approved.
Okay. No, because I was information that I had received before was that you, if you are doing business in multiple states in the United States, that you're eligible for a 98 number.
I really don't understand what you're saying. If you're doing business in multiple states and then inside of the United States or out of the United States?
No, inside the United States, are you eligible for a 98 number if you're doing business in multiple states in the United States?
So it all sounds domestic. So if you want to get a 98 number, it has to be international and it has to be outside of the US.
Okay. Okay. And I think that may be it.
All right, perfect. Thank you,
Thank
Maria.
you. Have a great one.
You too. Awesome. Thank you guys, everyone, for being here tonight. I really appreciate you guys staying until the end. So I'm super excited for those of you who decided to take the leap of faith and enroll into the program. 2025 is right around the corner. So the only thing I want to tell you is to get your affairs in order, you guys, because tomorrow is not promised. And you being structured the right way is so powerful to the point that you will change your life and you will change the lives of your families and those around you. So with that being said, happy holidays to everyone. Happy New Year's to everyone. Look forward to talking to you guys in the near future and helping you out through this whole entire process and this journey. And remember that our next workshop is January 6th to the 10th from 11 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're able to make the next workshop, I will definitely tell you guys to do that because you want to start off 2025 the right way.